Wow. Hello everyone. I'm quite ill, so we'll see how things go today. Terribly exciting day as always. Hope you're recovering well. To some extent, I still feel a bit bleh, but I'm not actually that ill. I just got a really badly blocked nose and a cough and such, those kind of things. Hello Chris, hello chat and Mott. Hello everyone. Get well soon, Chris. Thank you. Hi Chris, hello everyone. Oh gosh. I hope everyone's doing well. Very exciting times. We've got lots of things to talk about today. I'll see how long I can manage to go for. I guess something which I have not seen, so maybe we can watch quickly, is just Kneecap at Glastonbury. That's interesting. Are you feeling better? To some extent, yeah. Better than yesterday. I just sat around and watched Game of Thrones all of yesterday, so that helped me feel better. I just lay in bed, and I had pasta, so pasta and soup. I've been nursing a wicked sinus infection. I don't think I have a sinus infection. I just did loads when I was in Ireland. Just loads of shit. Wow, Chris looks young. It's because I got no moustache, doesn't it? I'm doing horrible, thanks. Good news, Derida. Hello, Chris. I miss you. Hello, Manar. I have returned. Thank you for your support as always. You've been one of my most consistent watchers for a long time on every platform. The moustache at least makes you look closer to your real age. Chris, you can't eat pasta with soup. Yeah, it's like the mixture of the two. I don't know how to describe it. I didn't make it. So one of the key developments has been there's been a new enemy of the show decreed. Hassan Piker. He's now an enemy of mine. I hate Hassan Piker. And we will explain why very shortly. Loads of coke. No, don't do that kind of stuff. Can't wait to hear your take on Zio Bobby. I can't wait to talk about it. I'm yet to watch it, and I'd love Elica Le Bon. She is my queen. She's beautiful, and I love her. I love her content. I love what she says. I think she's very clever. How was Ireland? Very good. Enjoyed Ireland. I liked it. I did a bit too much stuff. I saw most of Ireland. I went to Belfast. I went to Galway. Saw Giant's Causeway. I saw Castle Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. But yeah. No, Hassan just said he didn't like my moustache. That's all Hassan did. He didn't do anything wrong. I don't hate Hassan at all. I think he's a good Twitch streamer and a great guy. Like, I'm only joking. But he just said he didn't like my moustache. Did you meet Hosier? No, I didn't meet Hosier, unfortunately. I prefer Bad Empanado over Sam, but he's good too. Yeah, I prefer them. Is it because he can grow a beard? Yes, it is. Who are you and what have you done with our boy? Your Discord misses you like crazy. I haven't been on the Discord because obviously I've been away. I've been trying to keep up with things, but I find that quite hard when I'm away. Let's see what Kneecap we're up to at Glastonbury then. Let's just get into this. All right.
Fucking hating it. Israel are war criminals. It's a
very profound statement so far. You can see why they needed to be banned because, they stated the obvious. They dared to state the obvious.
Genocide. And it's important. Like, I know sometimes, listen, I can see the amount of Palestinian flags here and it's fucking insane. The BBC editor is going to have some job. So, sometimes we feel helpless. Sometimes we feel like we're not doing enough, and that's probably true sometimes, but the difference it makes to people in Palestine when they see people from the other side of the world, this many people screaming free.
To be honest, I cannot imagine performing in a coat and a keffiyeh today. That's quite often why I don't wear a keffiyeh, because I already have problems with overheating constantly, but yeah. Apparently they chanted death to the IDF. Oh no, apparently they didn't.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I think they should have performed Strike a Blow on Tel Aviv live. In fact, here's a video of their leaked set.
اضرب تل أبيب اضربها والصهيونية ارعبها يا بتعمر يا بنخربها اضرب.
Gosh, Kneecap, I can't believe you've done that. Kneecap, you shouldn't play that song. For goodness sake, Kneecap.
Free Palestine!
You know you're not supposed to do that, Kneecap. What have I told you?
So fucking proud.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. I just, like, it is a joke that they're going to be, you know, that they might get in legal trouble for whatever the hell they've been up to. Like, they just didn't even do that much. But, like, realistically, it's just because they took an unequivocal stance against genocide, and they slip up once, and it's just easy to take down. Much hope this doesn't get you fucked over on here. It's so good. I mean, I only played a short snippet of it. I didn't realise it wasn't allowed on here. Oh no, if it's a problem, I'll just have to like delete that part of the VOD, but who knows? Maybe I'll get in trouble. I thought that was them. Here's them talking about Palestine action.
Palestine action isn't arming the genocide in Israel. That's Keir Starmer and the British government who should be prescribing. Fuck Keir Starmer! Fuck Keir Starmer! Fuck Keir Starmer!
Free, free!
Oh, wait! What the hell? When was I muted? When was I muted? Whoops. Sorry, guys. Emily McKenzie, thank you, Chris, for all the awareness you raise on this topic. Who knew your special interest would become something important in the movement for change? I mean, yeah, for the longest time I just cared a lot about Palestine when there wasn't much interested in it, so, you know.
Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Alright, but have you heard this one, though? Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF!
Bob Vylan's music is actually really, really, really good as well. I like Bob Vylan. I haven't listened to them in ages, but yeah.
Death to the IDF! Hell yeah, from the river to the sea.
So shout out them. Probably more extreme than what Kneecap were willing to... Ah, fucker! Sorry, 1 second. There we go, we've returned. Yeah, shout out Bob Vylan for that one. That's a very exciting challenge. Just see if there's anything else. And also, by the way, what people have been saying on Twitter is... Hold on, I'm going to make a TikTok. So the BBC tried to ban... the BBC tried to ban Kneecap, and so Bob Vylan, like, the BBC did not show Kneecap, and, like, you had fucking Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, saying, oh, you know, you can't have them perform here, it's inappropriate. I think Keir Starmer said it's literally inappropriate. Hold on, let me find it. Let me find it. Yeah, here you go. So fucking Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, who, by the way, has a relationship with Israel and sells weapons to them, is posting, Kneecap's Glastonbury performance not appropriate, says Keir Starmer. It's just like, who cares, man? Who cares? What? Because they said... what did they even say? Up Hezbollah, up Hamas or something? It's like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. But, like, you just shouldn't be banning them, you know? It's just, like, utterly ridiculous that you're not allowed to have that live. Like, it's just utterly ridiculous that apparently disqualifies you from performing, from being shown. Like, you can literally see. Here's the BBC schedule. They cut out Kneecap intentionally. They cut out Kneecap from being allowed to be filmed. Have to be careful now. Starmer is going after them personally. He even called them support of terrorism. Who gives a fuck about what he has to say? Who gives a fuck about what Keir Starmer has to say, honestly? Keir Starmer's an open, avid supporter of genocide. Israel has a right to defend herself. It's just a joke. It's just a complete and utter joke. Keir Starmer isn't appropriate. Indeed. There's also a really low number of viewers in here today. سلام از انگلستان مرتیه حال شما خوبه Popcorn alien. I feel like that just makes people want to watch that. Exactly. People are always going to want to watch. Like, banning Kneecap is going to achieve nothing. Like, okay, you don't allow them to perform. You constantly go on about them. What's that going to do? Increase Kneecap's reach and stuff, you know? Some woman called Helen live streamed their entire performance.
Are war criminals.
Then there's someone being stupid. Hey.
Glastonbury, we're an E-Cab. Chucky Arla, free Palestine.
I really wish I was at Glastonbury today.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Would have been so funny if they just had like a Hezbollah flag today. Would you debate an Israeli propagandist? Of course I would. There's that nice Lotus guy he says he'll debate, but I don't know, like I just ask him and it's like fucking, I said I'd debate, what's her name? That opinionated girl. And I was like, let's just debate. And she's like, we need a moderator. And it's just like, we don't need a moderator so you can tell me your stupid beliefs. Like, I will literally debate you anytime. You can prepare for it. I don't care. Like, we'll just talk about it, because the only way is if she's not as smart as Lonabox is to do this, but like Lonabox just what Lonabox did was just steer the conversation away from anything substantial on Palestine. It's how you do anything. Like, you start talking about fucking really specific articles and things like that, and go over and over again. You're so stupid, man. So stupid, man.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Yes! Palestine!
We said it before. The story is...
I messaged Sahar TV ages ago. Sahar TV had no interest. I would 100% debate Elica Le Bon.
It isn't about Kneecap. It's about the genocide that's happening right now in Palestine.
Also, people are sat here like 1.6 million brilliant. It literally means nothing, by the way. Someone referred to it as 1 million streams. It just means 1 million likes and you can like unlimited times.
And we're blessed that we have this opportunity to be in the sun in a festival, having the crack. But I know in Palestine, when they see this many people with Palestine flags, it means a lot to them. It's solidarity and it goes a long way, so we appreciate that. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free
Palestine!
Wait, it's not one-to-one. What's one-to-one? What are you talking about? Chris, you were late. Shirtless stream to compensate. I was not. Also, by the way, I think I'm going to make another video about Ethan Klein. I said I wasn't going to because I didn't really have anything I wanted to talk about. And I think I probably should just talk about the point that his life has reached because it's very pathetic. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sahar TV debates like idiots on who are like randomly messaging him. Like, what even are his videos? It's like someone who's like on some Omegle, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're curated, because what even is that, like, platform that he's on? I don't know.
If you live in the UK and you don't want to remove your mask, you know you're doing something wrong, so why do you keep doing it?
Aha, so you've got brains now.
I've always had...
Like, who is this guy on Omi TV? What is Omi TV? Is it Omegle? It's Omegle random cam chat alternative. Like, what? You have to curate between, like, people jacking off and some of these stuff.
brains. You know, I'm a Jew.
It's like, what is this? It's slop.
Do you believe in equal rights for women?
Is this gonna be like a tit for tat thing? Okay, I understand.
Do you believe in equal rights for women?
Yeah, okay, I'll say I'm live. It's okay, I know why there's not many viewers. One, because it's a Saturday, seems to be the worst day for getting viewers, and also two, because I've not been live in ages. I can't even see my live on my own channel for some reason. Have I just gone off? Yeah, I'm not debating people on fucking Omegle, because it'll be like, if I debate people on Omegle, it'll just be people with their cocks out. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, this guy must really carefully curate, like, looking for fucking weirdos to debate. At some point, I want you all to realise that, like, when I say, hey, I'm going to make an Instagram story, and when I then am muted afterwards, that's not some accidental mute, that's incredibly intentional. But I think you guys should see my Instagram story, because I think it's quite funny, to be honest. Oh, it's not uploaded. Hold on 1 second. Here you go. I'm live. I am going to be reacting to Elica Le Bon, the People's Princess. Elica, very beautiful lady from Iran, Iranian woman. We're going to be reacting to her and her debate with Dave Smith and some other stuff talking about Iran and Israel, the news and things. So if you want to come say hi, the YouTube link is here as always. Hope you enjoyed that. Very beautiful, the People's Princess. The only thing I want to talk about first is, right, here is why Hassan is now an enemy of the show.
This means that Israel either has to move America into the forefront of this military campaign so that Iran is too focused on defending itself against a much stronger military.
InstaChris looks way better. That's because I'm using my phone camera and not this shitty webcam. Even though I have an expensive webcam, I need to get a better one.
Or they have to stand down. Here's Chris Kunzler's video on this. I already saw this. Is a great video.
Oh, I hate hearing my voice like that.
It's a very smart video.
The fact that Iranian...
I'm glad that Chris also shaved his mustache.
Evil man! Evil man! And then he lowers my volume. This man is sick. This man is evil. He's telling you that I shouldn't have a mustache. And you guys worship him. Piece of shit.
I'm the last person to talk about other people's facial hair, but I think the mustache wasn't working that good.
I'm not sure how I feel. I quite like the moustache. This is his worst take, indeed. The stash is gone, so maybe he won out after all. Also, I am so incredibly warm right now. But this is why Hassan has earned himself enemy of the channel. Yeah, I know. This is the most disappointing thing. Ethan Klein should sue him now. Hassan Piker should be a victim of Ethan Klein suing. And he's also, I don't know, he's evil. Yeah. So that's a very significant development. And finally, we have to talk about the people's hero, Peter Thiel. Really like this guy. Really like Peter Thiel. He's brilliant. He is brilliant. Love him. Very clever chap. So I haven't actually watched this full thing, but I've seen the start of it, and it's very weird.
My very specific question for you, right, is that you're an investor.
This guy's the CEO of a company, Palantir. Also, I need to see some likes on the stream, please. Thank you very much. He's the CEO. Is he the CEO of Palantir? I mean, he's just an all-round weird guy. I think he really likes flying cars or something. I think he really talks. We wanted flying cars. Instead, we got 140 characters. He constantly talks about, like, wanting flying cars.
In AI, you're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power...
I like this guy a lot. I like him a lot because he looks really sickly. He's like a sort of sick, sweet princess. A sickly prince. And he's also just incredibly evil. So it's like great. It's a great mixture of the two. He's sort of like some kind of evil. Actually, no. He's like some sort of sickly advisor to the prince. And also in many ways, he sort of looks a bit like Grima Wormtongue, I think. Maybe that's a bit of a... Actually, you know what? He kind of does look like Grima Wormtongue. Like, does he not have a bit of Grima or Wormtongue to him? Like, poisoning... I don't know who the king is, because they're, Trump? But I don't know. He looks like a very sickly man. He looks like a very, very, very sickly man. Teal is definitely extremely mentally unwell. Well, yes, all of these people who are billionaires are miserable weirdos. Because if you accede, like, I mean, watch Succession. Succession is entirely about this. Succession is the HBO show. Succession is very good, but it is also basically just about how if you accede to the demand of capitalism, which is make as much money as possible, you become one of the weirdest people. You become like not weird. You become a miserable person. Like in that show, none of them have any time for their family. They just spend their time trying to get over on each other.
And using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world. I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to
This guy looks quite weird too, but he seems to be behaving himself, so he's okay.
have any more technological progress? But I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the
Why does he actually look like that? Like, what is wrong with him?
Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think
This guy is so bad at speaking publicly. Like, why does he speak publicly? If I was this guy, I would lock myself in a room and never ever dare to speak in public.
that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
I mean, all of this shit is going on, but the place you should be focusing on, rather than, like, perverts like this, is the fucking UAE. I mean, you should focus on perverts like this. But I bet Peter Thiel loves the United Arab Emirates. I've never even looked into this. But I bet you anything Peter Thiel loves the UAE. Oh, yeah, he has a fucking startup in the UAE. UAE-based Peter Thiel-backed VC firm leads $20 million funding round in UAE. Okay, that's not actually a company there. My mistake. Peter Thiel does not currently have one. Aramco's venture arm doubles down on Thiel. Here's Bloomberg talking about Thiel. Fucking Thiel startup. I mean, Aramco. Yeah, this is awful. Thiel co-invests with Saudi Qatar in new business platform. Billionaires fomenting a global race war. This is according to Joe Gill. I've met this guy. I used to work at Middle East Eye when I was there for an internship. He seemed quite nice. Didn't know him. They're backing Trump. Grew up there. Oh, both of them grew up in South Africa. Oh, yeah, I heard that he grew up in a place where they said the N-word over and over again or something. There's not a chance they don't. Sorry, someone has moved my monitors, and now part of you is, for some reason, just slightly off corner, so I can't see it. Mediocre violist. Are you going somewhere? I got to get ready for work. Have a nice day. Massive retracted, Chief Wiggum. I wonder what drugs he's on. Probably some evil concoction of things that you've never even heard of. Bye, Violist. Indeed. Goodbye, Violist. Thank you for all of your work. You worked there. I did indeed. Give Peter Thiel a conscience. I don't think if you gave this man a conscience, he would really care. I think he has a conscience. He's a normal human being. He's just... This is what happens when you take capitalism too far.
Well, but again,
frankly, if you're like a fan of this stuff, you basically want an authoritarian government that control you, and he's not smart enough to actually articulate that in any sort of nice or justified or moral way. So yeah,
there are these different gradations.
This guy is not a dementor. This is what happens to you when you get sucked out by a dementor.
Of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety. And
what is this guy even talking? I mean, actually, you know what? If this guy was talking about the way in which the US government has made everyone submit to peace and safety, and yet they are committing war crime after war crime and bringing just horrors all around the world, then maybe you have a point, and you could call the US, but that's not what he's saying.
Would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in
the
this.
human race...
It's also just like word salad, and we'll move on to the next topic of Elica Le Bon shortly. But like, I have genuinely become really obsessed with Elica Le Bon and the way she writes tweets. They're really funny because she writes these long ass tweets and makes these long ass videos. Let's listen to this.
I'm seeing a lot of conflicting narratives.
And you can also tell that someone's paying her because she makes no effort to make entertaining videos. I don't know who the fuck are the 10,000 idiots liking
Ever
this.
since Trump announced his plan for Gaza, I'm seeing a lot of conflicting narratives online and a lot of confusion about what we do going forward in this post-war era. And this is precisely this question that I want to answer for you in a very, very, very simple way. It is one problem, it is one solution. Our problem is that we do not have a universal...
I love how, like, this is what I mean. She said Elica Le Bon is an Iranian lady. She's the people's queen. She could actually be the queen of Iran. She has associations with the Shah of Iran for some reason. She's a proper horrible Israeli propagandist. But, like, just listen to how she talks. Listen to how she talks. She says, like, I'm going to answer that simply. And then she goes, we don't have a universal moral compass. It's like, what is this?
Moral compass. Okay, one more time. We do not have a universal moral compass. And it is in this space
What is a universal moral compass? Like, what are you talking about?
Of moral ambiguity, of moral confusion, that the worst of the worst has found a way to thrive. It is in our moral confusion. Let me explain to you what I mean. After Nazi Germany, the solution was very simple. It was de-radicalization. And yes, that meant changing the education system. Yes, that meant changing the culture. Yes, that meant changing the economy. Yes, that meant changing the street names. Yes, that meant banning every form of Nazi memorabilia and insignia and any semblance.
I bet you anything she says we have to ban all Islam.
Of Nazi ideology, but much more than that. There was a universal display of moral clarity.
It's also really funny because loads of Nazis just moved over to America and had a great fucking time there.
That moral...
The Princess of Persia. Yes. Very, very lovely lady. Also, I think she's nearing 40. And someone said, I bet you that Ethan is so close to bringing on. She's also not beautiful. She's very strange.
Clarity looked like the Nuremberg.
Alika Mujtahid Zadeh. I mean, how dare you say, what is she yapping about? She's giving us a very simple explanation of what should happen after in Gaza by articulating a bizarre concept of a universal moral compass. Also, like the MF stream, now.
Trials. The Nuremberg trials displayed at an international level the consequence.
Also, by the way, if she actually read or knew anything, the Nuremberg trials were bad. Zoran Mamdani's dad writes about this, and I don't care about Nazis being executed, but the problem is that the Nuremberg trials individualized the crimes of the Nazis. And recently I watched a film called Conspiracy. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's pretty good. It's got like Stanley Tucci, Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh plays Eichmann. Colin Firth plays like the guy who wrote the Nuremberg laws. I can't remember. Conspiracy ending soon. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Because this ending's really good. So it's... Here you go. I might have to mute it because the music. So here's Stanley Tucci playing a Nazi. You should probably... Yo, don't spoil it. What are you talking about? It's an accurate film about the Nazis. And also, none of this is congruent with... None of this matters for what happens in the film. But here you go. Right. Just look at this. Look at this. Gestapo chief Heinrich Müller disappeared after the war. Last seen in Hitler's bunker. Dr. Gerhard Klopfer, arrested for war crimes, discharged for lack of evidence. Gerhard, these are all like senior Nazi officials. Don't spoil World War II. Sorry guys, yeah, the Nazis end up losing. Well, in many ways they don't. Dr. Wilhelm Kitzinger, at Nuremberg, declared himself ashamed of Nazi atrocities, released and died. These aren't really the mad ones. Here you go. So, SS Lieutenant General Otto Hoffmann, senior Nazi official, sentenced to 25 years. Served 6. Worked as a business clerk. Died 1982. Dr. Georg Liebrandt, arrested 1945 for war crimes, released for lack of evidence, active in an American cultural institute, died 1982. Dr. Alfred Meyer ended his life. Dr. Wilhelm Stuckart, this is the guy who wrote the Nuremberg things. He was arrested for war crimes, sentenced 1949 to time served. I don't even know what that means. But he wrote the Nuremberg laws. Martin Luther, sent to Sachsenhausen for conspiring against his superior. So he just was actually sent to prison by the Nazis and then died. Erich Neumann, released for lack of evidence, 1948. It's a really good film. I'd recommend you watch it. And obviously there's thing, died in action. Not R.I.P. Rest in piss. Convicted by a British military court for a terror pogrom without higher authority. Oh, he's in Game of Thrones. That's the Night's Watchman. That's where I saw him recently. He's like the head of the Night's Watch, isn't he? Adolf Eichmann. Oh, he plays Eichmann. Reinhard Heydrich is who, what's his name, plays. Kenneth Branagh plays Reinhard Heydrich. It's a very good film. And someone told me to watch it on the basis of euphemism, because all of them basically never say what the Nazis did. But yeah, very good film, but it kind of just talks about what the Nazis did and what they got away with. I don't think you can individualize a crime that is societal. It's like if we get a trial of Netanyahu, that doesn't absolve Israeli society that is so racist, that has reached a point where the extermination of, 100,000 plus Palestinians is plausible. This is not like, these are the things, so yeah.
For Nazism, making it so that nobody wants to be Nazis again.
Well, I mean, also, you have neo-Nazis today. Like, undeniably, there are neo-Nazis who exist in today. And also, many people just went on to practice the same things. And did you know, as I've said before, the Nazis' Nuremberg laws were not as stringent in terms of their levels of racism as the American one-drop policy. So this idea that the politics of Nazism was rejected isn't really true. Perhaps the aesthetics and the actual practice of Nazism, but the race science, the identity politics which undergirded it, which represented it, went on.
It is that simple. Did you watch the Nuremberg trials? Did you see them squirm as they had to listen, as they had to watch and listen to the crimes they themselves had committed and felt?
Also, by the way, Eichmann said he would jump laughing into his grave. Like, I guess that wasn't the Nuremberg trials.
So uncomfortable to be confronted with. That's how you deter Nazis. You show a universal moral through thread that says...
Also, by the way, this woman just loves saying big words. Like, that's literally like her trick. She just goes, big word, big word, big word, insert big word.
Regardless of who you are, where you're from, or what you want to do in this life, you cannot be a Nazi. If you want to be a Nazi, try. Find out. Find out.
Well, you can be a Nazi. You can just be part of Trump's administration if you really want. You can practice an ideology that is similar to Nazism. Like, weren't there literally groypers, like people who were Nazis in Doge? Like teenagers. Elon Musk did a fucking Nazi salute. Elon Musk did a Nazi salute.
You know what we've...
I was just thinking about that. I was like, yeah. Weren't there groypers? And then I was like, hang on a second. Elon Musk himself did a Nazi salute.
Failed to do in this era.
There's a reason was arrested and David Duke never was. Yeah, of course. Did you know... thank you, Terra Trove, as well. Did you know that, as well... why did you delete his comment? The Elica Le Bon Zade. No flag, sorry. Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Era set the fucking tone. What's the tone for jihadists? Pray tell, what is the tone? Because the only thing I've seen for jihadists is incentive, is reward. This isn't the Nuremberg trials, these are the Nuremberg rewards. You commit terrorism, you get billions of dollars. What's the consequence? What's the consequence for jihad in our morally confused world? You cannot assert the consequence because you're afraid of appearing racist. Imagine saying, I don't know if we can denazify Germany, because it might just seem like we're racist towards Germans. No, baby girl.
Well, also, Nazism was a specific ideology, whereas you are literally talking about getting rid of Islam. Like, that's a very different thing. You are basically talking about banning Islam, is what she's talking about here. Definitely not a deranged mad woman.
No girly pop. No, it doesn't. You want to find out if this is about racism towards Germans? Watch the trials. Because we...
How many clips even are there of that? Can you watch the whole Nuremberg trials? I've surprisingly never watched them, and nor do I really care to. As I say, like, Zoran Mamdani's dad writes about this. Like, he literally writes about Nuremberg trials footage. How much footage even is there? The Daily Mail posted a video of the Nuremberg trials. Let's have a look.
Wilhelm Goering, on the counts of the indictment on which you have been convicted, the tribunal sentences you to death by hanging. Joachim von Ribbentrop, death.
He didn't actually look that sad. He was just...
Ribbentrop,
He just sighed. Goering sighed.
death by hanging. Fritz Saukel, death by hanging. Julius Streicher, death by hanging.
Also, where was Alfred Krupp sentenced? Oh no, it's not Alfred. It's his son. Krupp. Nazis. Is it Wilhelm Krupp? It's Alfred Krupp, right? Sorry, there's just a lot of Krupps. Yeah, here you go. Right, here's Krupp. Was he sentenced in Nuremberg? Yeah, he was. This guy... This guy... This guy who was sentenced at Nuremberg, right? He was like the key supplier of the Nazis. There was also someone who killed loads of people in slave labor with the V2 rocket program who just went on to go to America. Sorry, there's so many Krupps. This guy just got away with it. We've spoken about it before. Alfred Krupp von Bohlen und Halbach just got away with it, like, basically. Like, yeah, here's some of them. Here's a combination of, like, wow, the Nazis got it. But, like, also, by the way, the Nazis did horrendous things, and on a scale bigger than most, especially at the time. But at the same time, you know, the French killed how many in Algeria? Imprisoned how many? Tortured how many? Did sadistic things? Israel has killed how many? Has a system of apartheid, enslavement, torture. It's just ridiculous.
Wilhelm Frick, death by hanging. Hans.
And also, like, very quickly, the statistics are here, and these, I've double-checked these statistics. Here you go. Right, so this is, by the way, Zoran Mamdani's dad wrote this. His name is Mahmoud Mamdani. So this is from Neither Settler Nor Native, hardback copy. I have a very early copy. I'd recommend reading it. It's a very good book. Anyway. A report by the Americans said 85% of civil servants in Hesse who were removed from their jobs were back at their jobs in May 1949. So 4 years after Nazism fell, 85% of civil servants were back in their jobs. Now, does that really seem like an example of, you know, Nazism being prevented? You know, she's like, do jihad, you're rewarded with billions. Well, these people were rewarded with their jobs back for being cogs in the Nazi machine. When the West German constitution was being written, between 30 and 60% of Nazis were back in their jobs in Bavaria. In August 1950, nearly a quarter of all parliamentary heads in Bonn ministries were ex-Nazis. In 1949, Federal Republic ended investigation into the behaviour of civil servants and army officers. Do you honestly think that 4 years after the Nazi crimes, that, you know, you just stop the investigations, that's just, like, okay? That's it? Like, these people who sell you these visions, I'm no expert in Nazism, but I've read enough about it. Like, it's quite hard to, like, you know, realise. Why are you removing these? IDF bulldozer, what are you doing? Rip days, what is this idiot doing? But yeah, this whole idea, like, you can just look and read through this. This chapter's pretty good. By 1953, the proportion of ex-Nazis in central government civil service was 60% of the foreign ministry, and the foreign ministry was 2/3 in 1952. And this is also a really interesting thing. Now, you've probably heard that Austria is the first victim of Nazism. Never ask early NATO Bundeswehr generals, officers what they did. Exactly. There were many people who were fucking Nazis who got away with it. And this is like the problem of Nuremberg, which is spoken about spoken about by people like Mamdani. What he says is, you shouldn't individualize a societal crime, and I tend to agree with it. I 100% agree with this. So this is an interesting one. Yud pointed out the Austrians were disproportionately represented in the SS and concentration camp administrators. High culture there too was also saturated with Nazi sympathizers. 45 out of 117 members of the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra were Nazis. In the Allied agreement in 1943, negotiated in Moscow, Austria was declared Hitler's first victim. Does this sound like Hitler's first victim? It's called Neither Settler Nor Native. Yeah, I'd recommend reading it. Very good book. It's got a section on Palestine, Nazism, Sudan, loads of things.
Frank, death by hanging. Alfred Rosenberg, death by hanging. Wilhelm Keitel, death by hanging.
Lack a universal moral compass. Jihadism is not only...
Also, a universal... can you go over how you take notes when reading books? How do you know when to take those notes? Because I just write down things I was interested in, and at that time I was reading for a dissertation, so I was taking down very specific things, so it kind of depends what you want. But I just take down notes of things I find interesting. But yeah, also, by the way, you know what? If there was a universal moral compass, then it would be a good thing. But, using the example of Nazism, when, very brutal colonialism and barbarism was still being practiced all over the world, should we really sit there and say, that this universal moral compass existed then?
Not deterred, it is rewarded. You have the UN. The UN was formed in the wake of World War II to ensure that doesn't happen again. What has the UN done? What has the UN done except 9 out of 19 of its accused members of one of its agencies was found to have participated in October 7? What has the UN done except invite the Islamic regime of...
Jesus Christ, this is just Israeli propaganda.
Terrorists in Iran to chair its Human Rights Council and Forum for Disarmament? What has the UN done except appoint Putin's Russia and China's CCP to the Security Council to veto any persecution?
Well, this is also the exact same for America. It is the exact same for America.
Against the Islamic regime in Iran. What has the UN done? What we have today in our morally confused world is feckless representatives, feckless agencies, feckless organizations. Where is the ICC's prosecution of jihadist terrorism? Oh, I forgot. You can't prosecute the jihadists because they're technically not a state. Well, isn't that convenient? Why?
The ICC literally issued arrest warrants for Sinwar, Dief, and someone else, right, as well. Who was the other one? Sinwar, Dief, and there was one other arrest. Was it Hania? Does anyone know? Was it Khalil al-Khaya or who else did they issue them against? I actually don't know who the other person was. I've kind of forgotten. Was it Was it Sinwar? I don't know. Ismail Hania. It was Ismail Hania.
Why not just give them an incentive to reject a state over and over and over again, and then you can't prosecute them because they're not a state. This is a prosecute the jihadists because they're technically not a state. Well, isn't that convenient? Why not?
Also, I love how she's saying Palestinians are jihadists.
Just give them an incentive to reject a state over and over and over again, and then you can't prosecute them because they're not a state. This is a reward system.
But it's also really funny because she is. I'm not going to use the arse-slur here, but this woman is so incredibly stupid. This woman is so stupid. It is unbelievable.
This is not a consequence system.
It's really hard to describe how stupid this woman is. She is so incredibly stupid.
For jihadism, and then you sit and you wonder, why do we have jihadists? Because you have been rewarding them. You tried diplomacy, did you not? Did you not try to give $150 billion to the regime? Where did your diplomacy get you? Where did your appeasement?
And also, by the way, this is really, really stupid. This is just really stupid. There's a good article in Foreign Policy. I'll put a link in it. I can link it here. There you go. There you go. Here you go. But the diplomacy did more to slow Iran's nuclear weapon program than fucking bombing them did. Like, what are you talking about? If they really wanted to, they could have had basically full control over it. Like, you can listen to her.
To jihadists get you? Is it not time to try something new? Is it not time to look back at your failed policies and regroup and rethink? So you want a solution? Here's your solution. Where is your International Court of Anti-Jihad? You had the Nuremberg trials. Where are the jihadist trials?
Where is she constant? She loves this.
Where are the jihadist trials? And if the jihadists have been killed, try them in absentia. Set the tone. Set the moral tone, and the jihadists will go away when every single act of jihad.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, so I will prefer alternatives like smooth brain.
Whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in the West, anywhere that it threatens us is met with a maximum punishment. And if you kill yourself as part of your act of jihad, your whole tribe gets tried.
This woman is deranged. I mean, like, genuinely, also, she's like 40, like, no one really knows her age, I don't know. I'm just trying to see if I can find her, Right. Here we go. Here's the date of her birth. Does that say 1986? Right, we're going to say that says 1986. So how old is she? What, like 14 at the turn of the thing? She's 39! She's 39! This woman is 39 talking about this shit. She's never read a book in her life, I don't reckon. I mean, if you want to watch something about her, watch the Chris Kunzler Middle East video about it.
How about that? How about that for disincentivization? Where is the show of universal moral clarity? So you want to know how you end jihadism? It is simple. Get yourselves together. You feckless representatives, you feckless organizations.
She's very strange looking. She is very strange looking. I want to see what the comments are on this. It's as simple as acknowledgement of the reality evil. Okay, I'm not going to read that. That looks quite anti-Semitic. We have witnessed Palestinians suffer so much to take up so little. Hamas were fostered by Netanyahu. Lay off the lip filler. Interrupting jackass. That's funny. I just don't get who are liking this. I just don't get who is liking this shit up. We'll return to Peter Thiel. Good man.
They survive.
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so, you know, it's always, I don't know, you know, yeah, transhumanism is this, you know, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with people's age. I just mean Elica Le Bon kind of positions herself as like this young daughter of Iran. She's never lived in Iran and she's nearing 40 and she just says stupid stuff on the internet. And she's like, she was like, I was tricked about the Palestine stuff.
To an immortal body. And there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or I don't know, a transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses, and a transsexual is someone where you change your, I don't know, penis into a vagina.
This is so weird. This is so weird.
And we can then debate how well those surgeries work, but we want more transformation than that. It's the critique is not.
To be fair, I want to get a cybernetic arm. I want to become a full cyborg. Also, when I was in Dublin, there was like a fucking cyborg pin of Yahya Sinwar holding an AK, and they were also selling Yahya Sinwar's book. I was like, I'm not going to buy this and bring it back. I was like, I'll probably get arrested. But I want to become a full-on cyborg and use my powers to defeat the IOF.
Not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And
it like also, so what he's saying is trans people should be allowed allowed to transition, but only if they like become a cyborg at the same time.
Okay,
maybe the government should think about what he's talking about, that we should start sponsoring trans people to become like full-on cyborgs.
We want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind.
This is literally impossible. And also, I do think that there is sort of a way to change your mind, which is by taking loads of psychedelic drugs and fucking yourself up. And it doesn't seem like a good idea, I'll be frank with you.
And change your whole body.
Ethan wants to be Hassan. Ethan Klein goes bankrupt trying to get inside the mind of Hassan Piker, trying to get Hassan's penis.
And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way, the critique Orthodox Christianity
This guy looks so perplexed.
has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self. And so,
I don't think that there is much Christian about doing this kind of stuff.
So
right, but the other wait. I generally agree with what I think is your belief that religion should be a friend to science and ideas of scientific progress. I think any idea of divine providence has to encompass the fact that we have progressed and achieved and done things that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors.
Yes, so we should do even more. We should start giving people cyborg Bensons. Giving them like cyborg arms, giving them cyborg legs, giving them cyborg everything. This guy is deeply weird, but maybe he has a point. The Bible has told me that I should be allowed to have a cybernetic arm, which I can use to destroy Teslas.
But it still also seems like, yeah, the promise of Christianity in the end is you get the perfected body and
yes, they do. Orthodox Christians are always like, I want to become a cyborg.
The perfected soul through God's grace. And the person who tries to do it on their own with a bunch of machines is likely to end up as a dystopian character.
Well, it's let's articulate this.
And you can have a heretical form of Christianity, that says something.
To be honest, it all sounds quite like Warhammer 40k kind of shit. But Warhammer 40k is very, very, very fascistic anyway. I recently played through the game, like Space Marine 2. I actually enjoyed it. But it is very, 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 very fascistic. The Bible says I should have a hydraulic wiener. That's it. Super chat goal. I'll put it on for an hour. Cybernetic... I don't know if I can put wiener. Cybernetic arm fund.
Thing else.
I don't know. I
How do you think we achieve? How do you think we achieve the cybernetic arm? The cybernetic wiener. It is only possible through jihad, according to this man.
The word nature does not occur once in the Old Testament, and so if you and there is a word in which a sense in which the way I understand the Judeo-Christian inspiration.
This is also a very weird invention. It's a very weird invention, like saying Judeo-Christian. Like, come on. People are always complaining. Like, fucking Ethan Klein sits there and goes, how dare you say that the Mizrahis are not, like, amazing, special people? And, I had a little thought about this Mizrahi things. Can you name, like, one significant Mizrahi politician in Israel? There are a couple, but, like, Ben Gvir is, like, one of the most significant Mizrahi politicians in Israel. It's quite funny. Like, there haven't been many throughout history, in spite of the fact that they make up the majority of Israel. They've always been treated like dog shit. But this whole idea of like Judeo-Christian interpretation, it's pretty weird because what did Judeo people do to Christians? Sorry, well, what did Christians do to Jewish people? The inverse of that. What did Christians do to Jewish people? What did Christian Europe, whose politics was always based on that, what did they do to Jewish people? What values did we share? Because I seem to remember one ending pretty badly. And I'm not saying that the two are incompatible, that they can't live together, that anything like this. What I'm saying is that hey, this is a pretty weird thing to be saying that kind of gets rid of a big part of our history that was very problematic. Cyber Peanuts Jork, thank you. That's exactly what I'll be doing with all of this cybernetic arm fund.
It is about transcending nature. It is about overcoming things. And
do you know what's interesting is this is actually kind of to do a bit of something, is to connect with this is to connect with something to do with Palestine. Palestinians were always like to be dominated, and so were all of the indigenous people and the native, because they were always portrayed as like part of the flora and fauna to be conquered. Very weird, perverse beliefs, but it's not like, when you think about it, this really isn't that big an outlier, you know. The Patriot Act was not created by Peter Thiel, it was created by the US government. I'm sure that there was backing from weirdos like him.
You know, and the closest thing you can say to nature is that people are fallen, and that's the natural thing in a Christian sense.
What do these even mean?
Is that you're messed up, and that's true, but you know, there's some ways that you know, with God's help, you are supposed to transcend that and overcome that.
This man is very clever, and hopefully will lead us to the rest of the world. Yeah, it is. You're right. That was exactly what I was about to say, mediocre violist. That this is all like, you know, words that are created to basically. These are words that are basically created to basically just ignore Muslims. Ben Gvir is an Iraqi Jew. He's actually Kurdish, I think. Greatest Kurd after Saladin. Thank you, Mr. Ben Gvir. You transcend and overcome that when you die, not in life. Oh, it's also just weird. He's just saying it so he can justify, like, supporting oil. This is also a mad video. This is, like, off topic, but I'm sure that you all saw that Haaretz article about how Israeli soldiers have just been killing Palestinians for fun. We all knew that this was happening.
I'm Richard Kemp here at one of
this guy's a fucking weirdo.
The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's distribution centres inside Gaza.
So we don't actually really need to watch this video.
You will have heard a lot of propaganda about violent attacks in and around the GHF sites here. It's all lies generated by Hamas in order to discredit the GHF. Hamas hate the GHF.
Do you want to know? So this guy's funny. You've heard the bit that you need to hear. You've heard the bit that you need to hear. Let's listen to the last. Let's listen to the last short period.
International and national media.
It's so funny! As he stops talking, after saying all of these things, just listen. You can hear gunfire! You can literally hear gunfire! He says Hamas have done all this propaganda, and you can hear the gunfire! And it's so poetic, like, it's as he stops talking. Also, whoever edited this, it's a 40-second video. Why didn't you just edit it? It's really easy to edit. I'm new here, but I want to support your dreams. I hope you feel better. Thank you, Haley Shea Ghost. You are supporting my dreams of getting a cybernetic arm, which I will be using to defeat the state of Israel. Israelis are the most untalented, uninteresting people on the planet. When I think of God's chosen people, you know what? There's actually some theoretical weight to this. So a guy called Albert Memmi wrote The Colonized and the Colonizer. Colonizer and the Colonized. It's okay, and Albert Memmi became like a bit of a shit later on in life, and I don't think he had that much of a problem with Israel. But anyway, Albert Memmi spoke about how colonies basically have this problem that if anyone of talent and anyone of conscience leaves because they hate the society. I mean, I don't think Ethan Klein is talented, but notice how Ethan Klein, when he was actually in Israel, fucking hated it. That's because whilst Ethan is now unwilling to see beyond the Zionist propaganda because he's unwilling to abandon the idea of Zionism because his wife is obsessed with it, but like the thing is that all people with even a semblance of talent or acumen or interesting thing, they end up leaving because it's a fucking horrible place. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's Palestine. It's a wonderful, beautiful land, historical, right by the land. That they are in the process of destroying everything historical to build some perverse, false vision of the Zionist project. But beyond that, it is a very beautiful place, but all talented people are going to leave that. Who wants to be there? I don't know even if it's the brain drain theory. It's just the fact of, like, it's just a horrible place to live, filled with, like, it's a very militaristic society that is just filled with liars. It doesn't have press freedom. You have to serve in the IOF. And, like, not everyone wants to do that, but a lot of them do want to be fans of the genocide, you know, or are still fans of it. They just aren't brave enough. It's a horrific place. Colonized and the Colonizer, yes, by Albert Memmi. We can watch this.
Still a very simple question. I do.
Yes, of course. You're going to use that against me to describe why Muslims shouldn't breed or should be sent back to their countries.
No. In a Sharia law country, your testimony is worth half of that of a man. Also, in marriage and divorce, a man can divorce you like this, but you cannot divorce him.
This is also a really, really, really funny argument. This is a really, really funny argument because in Western society, you can frequently note this, and it's still a problem. If you notice who are frequently killed, who are frequently subjected to, like, sexual violence and ignored, I'm like, it's always women. Like, even the grooming gang scandal in the UK, a big part of that is a lot of women are not, like, trusted or believed, that they were kind of ignored, you know? So when you kind of hear this thing of, like, oh, Sharia law country, women's testimony is worth less. Women's testimony is worth less here.
Tonight, the Middle East has changed. In a bold, unprecedented move, Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran's nuclear...
You know what? I am not watching this guy. I am sick of watching idiocy. We're going to watch Elica Le Bon now.
In which city in Palestine you live in?
Which city in Israel? Tel Aviv. So you think Palestine was a country before Israel, right?
Yes.
Name the leader of Palestine before 19...
It is quite easy and plausible to do. Musa Kazim. Like, you could say Musa Kazim was the leader of the elite in Palestine. A member of the Nashashibi or a member of the Kazim... the Husseini family would have been the leader of Palestine. It was made up of elites and notables. Like, this is an argument for smooth-brained fucking idiots.
1948.
My friend, I'm Palestinian.
If you guys are a people, you should have a leader. But you're not a people.
But also, why didn't they have a leader? Like, who denied them to have, like, a singular leader? Who denied them? Who denied them? The British, who allowed the Israelis to build state institutions.
Because
you guys are
there is
frauds.
no government before. There is no government. It was under Ottoman Empire.
But even when it was under the Ottoman Empire, Palestinians sent a delegation to the Ottoman Parliament. Like, in 1871 is one of the years.
After that, Israeli and kids killer coming and take our land.
I like Israeli kids killer.
It's easy, you can see it. But if you have mind and you think in your mind and your humanity and you see your government kill 20,000 kids in Gaza, you will know the fact.
If you want kids in Gaza to stop dying, tell Hamas to go up to the ground and fight like men.
Also, we've seen what happens. But did you know Gaza has no bomb shelters? Ethan Klein hearing this. Oh, baby, I can't wait to use this. I'm a staunch supporter of Palestine, but I can't wait to use this to dunk on Hassan Piker.
Not like cockroaches.
I want to ask you one question. Okay?
Please.
If these kids have 9 months in the life, he's Hamas soldier, he have RBJ?
No. Do you think my country deliberately kills the children?
Yes.
For what reason?
100%.
Name the reason then. Let's go.
Because them don't need Palestinian in Palestine. Them want to make genocide in Palestinian.
Israel is in Gaza for absolutely no reason. We don't
Israel is in Gaza for pretty much no reason at this point.
have any hostages left in Gaza. We don't have Hamas still left in Gaza. Israel is inside.
Oh, Sam Cedar. Sorry, yes, he couldn't wait to use it on Sam Cedar.
Gaza for no reason.
Israel is pretty much in Gaza for no reason at this point, beyond genocide and ethnic cleansing. Like, Hamas is not a military force that could threaten them right now. And arguably, Hamas have been willing to over and over again abdicate. So this idea that they want to get rid of Hamas. The main issue is getting rid of Hamas fully, basically. It's not like some big secret. Like, this guy is just a liar. Like, he's an idiot and a liar. And hence why he ignored my DM. I think I can show you if you want. Instead of debating random people on Omegle, how about you debate me? Instead of running and debating random people on Omegle, how about we kiss? Joking. There you go. Right, that's enough of that. So now it's time for Elica Le Bon. Elica, the people's queen. Beautiful lady, our queen. She's from Iran. Hi, Iranian woman here. She's been on Piers Morgan so many times.
Debate ideas with our producers, said these words: it has to be.
Why does... I mean, actually, the reason he likes Dave Smith so much is because Dave Smith's a bit of an idiot. So, like, and he's not actually, like, unequivocally pro-Palestine. So he's, like, a great person to have on, you know. Rather than someone who actually knows Palestine, understands its history, and can talk about it properly. It's much easier to have him.
Dave Smith, the man has so much influence, and he's so wrong on every level. The world needs to understand why every one of his points...
DMs on screen is crazy. I mean, I don't care. Like, you can see my messages on TikTok if you want. It's only my message requests anyway. I don't have any weird DMs. I mean, what could you even see? It's just someone saying, God bless Israel. Sorry for bother. Sunny Ashraf sending a sticker. Don't know who any of these people are.
Is garbage. So I may as well take the next hour off. But joining me for what I think will be a fascinating discussion on an imperative subject, Elica Le Bon, the Iranian-American attorney and activist, and Dave Smith, libertarian commentator and the host of Part of the Problem. Let me just start before we go any further.
Wait, what is part of the problem? Hold on. Is that Dave Smith? Oh, it's Dave Smith's Who is listening to Dave Smith's fucking podcast?
Elica, just with a
he's a Trumper, he's anti-abortion, he's not a good guy.
Response to my...
It's Hamas's fault we're killing civilians. Exactly. I mean, it's just a deranged belief. But, I mean, yeah. Does Elica... Yeah, I've seen this comment. Yeah, they have been enriching her. Elica's... I'm sure that Elica, once upon a time, was a very beautiful lady. But, like, her face is just, like, unable to move on its own. It's filled with just plastic and gloop.
My interview there with Professor Izadi in Tehran, which was actually reasonably, you know, civilized, normal, until the end, when he brazenly said he was proud of what Hamas did on October the...
A small dono to the Mechanical Phallus Fund. Thank you so much, Jim Badger. You're helping me get there bit by bit.
7th. And at that point, I realised he was a complete lunatic. But what did you...
At that point, I realised he was a complete lunatic.
feel listening to it?
I'm glad the world's finally realizing what we've been knowing for the past 46 years, but ultimately, you know, you just have to look at their talking points and realize the ridiculous hypocrisy of it. Wasn't his whole thing that Palestinians have been oppressed and therefore it is their moral obligation and everyone's moral obligation to attack Israel? Well, by that same logic, what they're doing to Iranian people, lynching them, torturing them, blinding them, then by that logic, the entire world should be bombing Iran right now. So how can you...
Well, I mean, the entire world should be bombing Israel. I don't know what the hell she's talking about here. Like, and also, by the way, all of these torturous things, which are quite, you know, plausible and plausibly done by the Islamic government of Iran, the only thing I will say is that so too do many of the allied states of the West do these things.
Speak out of both sides of your mouth saying that this type of oppression justifies not just military intervention, but terrorism. But you don't think anything should happen to you while you're doing this to your own people. And that's how you know it's a bluff. That's how you know it was never about Palestinian people. It was never about oppression. These are not people who care about oppression. These are the enforcers of oppression who weaponize oppression in order to gain legitimacy in their attacks on Israel.
Dave, we're going to come to the main debate in a few moments, but just your reaction to that interview with Professor Izadi, because like I say, it was like a game of two halves, right? Where for most of it, he seemed perfectly reasonable, really, albeit it wouldn't be arguments I would put forward or agree with, but I can understand where he was coming from. He seemed quite reasonable. And then right at the end, I mean, for somebody just to, on camera, say they were proud of what Hamas did on October the 7th, what was your reaction to that?
Very similar to yours. I thought there were a lot of reasonable things said up until that point. But of course, I think this isn't that uncommon. Regimes and supporters of regimes are often guilty of just the most outrageous hypocrisy. And you think of historical examples like Joseph Stalin used to put out propaganda.
I think that this guy said that it was like that, like basically Stalin taking over a big part of Europe was just awful. Because I have it on 1.5 times speed because I don't just want to listen to this bit.
How horribly racist America was and how Jim Crow was terrible and they treated the black people so terrible in the United States of America, which like it was true, but what a hypocrite.
I just got here, Mechanical Phallus Fund. I'm glad you're feeling better. That's why I need the money because I feel so ill that That I need a new mechanical phallus.
Good for Joseph Stalin to be pretending like he was concerned with human rights as he, oversaw the gulags and stuff like that. And so I think, listen,
like the stream chat. Indeed. Thank you, Sophie and Sunflower Dragon, for both dropping some support.
Claim that Hamas and Hezbollah have never engaged in terrorism is just ridiculous and stupid. And, but then again, I would say, I also think the claim that the IDF has never engaged in terrorism is kind of equally ridiculous. And so, it is, in a sense, the hypocrisy of all of the
I love how she just shakes her head.
Regimes allows somebody like that to point out your hypocrisy, to say, oh yeah, Pierce, well, you're criticizing Iran, saying that they're a state sponsor of terrorism as a citizen of a government that is sponsoring Israel's destruction of Gaza. And so again, there's all of
Why is he puckering his mouth like that? It looks so small.
This is just horrible.
God, he's fucking hot.
Horrible. And there's awful hypocrisy all around. I think there were some fair points that he made in there, but yeah, I mean, listen, October 7th, and even if you want to go with the idea that there was friendly fire or even some type of like Hannibal directive issued, there's been people who have done deep dives into this, and there is some evidence that some people died that way, but there's just no question that Hamas crossed the border and killed a lot of innocent people. And as I've been saying to you since I've been on your show, Piers, I just think it's horrible when people downplay that, and it does nothing but undercut their.
Yeah, I
their
agree.
own
I mean, if all you do is focus purely on the GoPro footage that Hamas broadcast to the world, if that's all you do, you see exactly the horror that they perpetrated. All right, Elica, you wanted to come on, but
also, like, why do you feel the need to just give like a fucking long speech about this from a fucking year ago? That's so long ago now, man. Like, Israel does worse things every single day. Like, Jesus Christ,
specifically with Dave Smith, you think he's wrong about absolutely everything. So just outline your main complaints about Dave Smith.
I don't have an outline, but I think I can just go off of everything that he says. In this example, you correctly pointed out what the Soviet Union was doing. You correctly pointed out that they would use these kernel of truths as part of their disinformation campaigns. But the question is, what were their disinformation campaigns?
Kernel of truth, kernels of truth.
Rooted in. Well, we know what the entire, communist agenda was.
Piers looks like an elderly British, but he actually does, especially in... Look at this fucking pause frame as you sent it. He really, really does look like an elderly British...
And that was demoralization of the West in order to sort of gain this traction internally within the West so that they would overthrow their own government. So the whole... You correctly pointed...
What about 9/11? What about 9/11? Wait, what do you mean 9/11?
That they would use these kernel of truths as part of their disinformation campaigns. But the question is, what were their disinformation campaigns rooted in?
I mean, however you feel about the Soviet Union, one thing you have to admit about the Soviet Union is that when the Soviet Union was in power, it made the West better because the West had to basically not be a complete and utter shithole. Like, it was definitely a shithole for many people, many minorities, but they had to provide some more social safety nets for as long as there existed an alternative to be like, hey, we're not that bad. Like, now, we don't like a hellish dystopia. The Soviet Union at that time, many places like East Germany, everyone was employed. Everyone had housing. Like, you look at it now and it's like a shithole.
Well, we know what the entire, communist agenda was, and that was demoralization of the West in order to sort of gain this traction internally within the West so that they would overthrow their own government. So the whole point of Soviet disinformation and ideological subversion was to convince people...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like you have to worship at the shrine of October the 7th. You have to deliver the exact same speech. Mechanical phallus reveal. That's what's happening. But you all have to deliver this same fucking speech of, God, wasn't October the 7th so bad? Like, what, should we all deliver a speech about how Sabra and Shatia was so bad? And I just don't think you can reiterate enough. Like, I don't think that you can reiterate enough. Israel elected the man responsible, who their own country found to be responsible for Sabra and Shatia. They re-elected him. They didn't re-elect him. They elected him as their prime minister to oversee the oppression of Palestinians. By law in the UK. Yeah, the UK Starmer's Britain, where you just have to worship at the shrine of October the 7th.
That the West.
And Israel.
And Israel was the source of all evil in the world. All of the KGB defectors have said the same thing. Yuri Bezmenov.
What is this? Like, Stalin was an ally of Israel. The reason the Soviet Union initially allied with Israel, and I saw someone pretty smart who I quite liked talking about this, one of the reasons that the Soviet Union was allied with Israel initially was because they saw it as a way to undermine the US foothold, the British foothold in the Middle East, and they were right about that. But then eventually they kind of saw that the countries they were allied with and American support, that by supporting, say, the PLO to engage in asymmetric warfare against America, they could cost America a lot of money. But, you know, it also cost them a lot of money in context, and America later turned this on itself.
Mikhail Pachepa. But the way they talk about how this is achieved, they talk about demoralization, and demoralization is the point where you can no longer tell truth from fiction, you can no longer tell right from wrong. And what happens when you reach that stage? You start making moral equivalencies between liberal democracies and terrorists and autocrats. So when you say there, yes, I do see that the Islamic Republic are terrorists, but I don't see how other liberal democracies are not terrorists as well. That is exactly the idea.
Like, also, what the fuck? Like, by the way, if any of you haven't seen, I've uploaded it on Twitter, a video that I believe was lost to time, which was Elica Le Bon's deranged response to me. And she had this massive go at me and was basically like, oh, how dare you do this? How dare you do that? How dare you say that, like, what did she say? She was like, how dare you say that, like, I don't condemn Saudi Arabia enough? Like, she's like on about liberal democracies and fucking autocrats. Why does the West not work to foster liberal democracy in the Middle East? Why do we constantly set up dictatorships? That's not what demoralization means. I don't think she knows what she means. Ninhotep, I would not try and interpret this. This kind of stuff can do serious damage to your brain if you listen to too much Elica.
Ideological subversion, which you correctly identified, but don't see how it's a part of your own talking points.
Dave?
No, that's just a talking point yourself there. I mean, it's just not true. I know that the defenders of Israel often like to use this term moral equivalent.
She's known for nothing apart from being pro-Israel. Like, that's literally it.
But it's just made up and doesn't apply to what I'm saying at all. I mean, if I were to say that I in no way ever said that the society of Iran is identical to the society of Israel, or that the people, or the citizens of that country both enjoy the same amount of liberty.
She's not a model. Elica Le Bon's life is just a complete and utter lie. So Elica Le Bon was, sorry, I just went on Twitter because I was about to search it, but it just came up with a fucking video of Alan Dershowitz talking about how the age of consent needs to be changed, and overzealots replying to them, bro, what possessed you to post this? Which is a funny post, but,
finished.
But yeah, basically, Elica Le Bon was like, initially she used to be pro-Palestine until after October the 7th, when she basically realised she could cash in and make a ton of fucking money. You can find her old posts and stuff. I have a full video about it. But she's just a very odd character. She's literally just known for being pro-Israel. I'll give you the answer. Elica Le Bon is a conventionally attractive woman with a British accent who's lived in America, who says the right things. I mean, she's an idiot. She's, like, genuinely really stupid, and her whole argument is, like, word salad, and it is just made up for, like, idiots. Like, it's genuinely, none of this makes coherent sense. As someone who's read a lot about this, I have never, ever heard anyone else speak like Elica Le Bon. Like, it's not how an academic speaks, it's not how anyone speaks, it's how someone who's trying to sound, smart speaks. And yes, she used to be a BLM activist, but basically she is just known for being pro-Israel and being like, I'm Iranian and I love Israel and jihad is bad. She's an idiot.
I've never said there are massive differences. Listen, I would say that American society, certainly within America, was far superior to Iraqi society under Saddam Hussein. But you can say that and also say that George W. Bush launched an illegal war in Iraq. These things aren't contradictory at all. And so what I'm talking about, let me finish. What I'm talking about here is that the IDF is committing acts of terrorism. And so you can say it doesn't count when a government does it, but there's no objective moral standard to that. So I'm not making an equivalency between anything. I'm just pointing out that these two groups both have committed terrorism. And so in the same sense that you could point out how two people have both committed the same crime, that is not the same as saying those two people are identical.
And her previous video, by the way, was about how we should have a universal moral compass. Like, what do those words even mean when you're just, like, sat here shaking your head about Iran doing terrorism?
In every way.
Sorry, about Israel doing terrorism. Like, what does it even mean?
So when you... Yeah, so you are drawing these moral equivalencies, and you're doing exactly that. You're saying, I'm just saying, how is the IDF different to Hamas? How is the IDF different to the Islamic Republic?
I didn't say that. No, you're saying that. There are, I could list off right now. Hold on. Because you're starting with completely strawmanning my position. So let's just, before you just argue, hold on. So before you argue with what you made up, instead of arguing with what I'm saying, I could name 1,000 differences between Hamas and the IDF. I'm not saying there's no difference between them.
Yeah, the IOF is worse than Hamas, like literally. This is, by the way, why Piers Morgan has this guy on rather than anyone else. Because Dave Smith is like good controlled opposition. He doesn't actually know or care about Palestine. He is literally just on because he's like a good enough opposition.
Clarify.
Sorry, because he'll say the right things that Piers wants. Like that's it, really.
What you're saying.
I don't think it could be any clearer. I'm saying they both commit horrific acts. Both kill innocent people.
You have said now, and you've said online on Twitter when you were debating people, you asked this exact question, which is exactly what a demoralized person would ask. How is this different to that? How is...
He's demoralized. He has no energy to do this. Like, also, what is she saying? Like, what is she saying? This is exactly what a demoralized... By the way, like, please, I beg you, watch my video about her, because I think that's one of my favorite videos I made. The problem is the audio, I guess, but, like, this woman is really, really insane. Like, really insane.
Is Israel doing this different to that? Now, let me just start by saying...
This is like a basic...
Because it's worse, because the indigenous... Like, you know what? I wish I could sit there and, like, this is why Dave Smith shouldn't be there. Dave Smith has never read anything, and as I say, I don't think having read a lot should be a prerequisite for talking about something. However, for going on a TV show to, like, operate as the defender of the Palestinian cause, why is it fucking Dave Smith, bro? Like, why is it Dave Smith? Because Dave Smith is, like, here going... you know, I'm not saying these two things are equal. They're not equal at all, but it's not in the same way or the way that you're speaking. The way that they are different is one side is a racist politics of settler colonialism premised on removing the indigenous people, and the other side is the indigenous people resisting. That is always what it has been.
IQ test. I could say, how is this act different from this act? That's not saying how is this entity identical to this other entity. The point is that targeting innocent... Sure.
This it's exactly like saying, how is it different between a cop and a robber when they're both pointing guns at each other and they're both making each other feel threatened? Isn't that the exact same thing? Yes, sure, it is the exact same act.
Piers is like, this is the best thing I've ever heard. This is the best thing I've ever heard.
But it is a different motivation. Okay, that's what the difference is. Because when you have a regime like the Islamic Republic or Hamas, that's literal inception and existence is based on the destruction of Israel and death to America, and basically just killing everybody who disagrees with their ideology.
Well, also, both of them are much more premised on American imperialism. Like, that's it, simply. American and Western imperialism. Like, Western for in the case of, like, Israel in the Middle East. But, like, what the Islamic Republic is an articulation of, like, American and British involvement in Iran. Like, it's not, like, just killing Israelis or something like that.
And another entity whose focus is on protecting its people. Yes, the actions may look the same, and in fact...
Whose focus is on protecting its people. God, she is deranged. God, she is, like, really, 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 really deranged.
The actions may be just as wrong as each other. They may be just as brutal and terroristic as each other, but the motivation is different, and to be demoralized means to not understand that.
Hang on a second. All right, let me jump in there, because actually, what difference does it make to the innocent civilians who are...
Doesn't make a difference.
Well, hang on. What difference does it make to innocent civilians who are killed, whether one has a better, you know, motivation for doing it? Because my problem with what Israel's doing in Gaza is that in direct contrast to what it did in Lebanon with Hezbollah, in direct contrast to what it did in Iran, both very...
Like, also, this is a really insane thing to say. How many people died in Lebanon? Isn't it something like 3,000? Maybe it's just 1,000. I don't know. But they just killed a ton of civilians. Oh, no. 4,000. They claim... This is also just Hezbollah's estimates up to... Where's that from? What even is this? Look at Wikipedia. Hezbollah claims 4,000 killed. Like, what? Like, what even is this? 7,000... I have no doubt that a decent amount of Hezbollah people were killed. Like, absolutely, like, a decent amount of people in Hezbollah were killed. But, like, I'll give you an example of why I have no faith in this. Here's how Israel... IDF bombed apartments were Hezbollah... Said they were Hezbollah bases... killed most. Israel never addressed that. 68 people killed in that. 5 low-ranking members of Hezbollah. Israel said they killed thousands there.
Precise, very targeted.
Sorry, said they killed like 100 Hezbollah. Israel just lies. And also, these were not targeted.
Very successful operations, minimal civilian casualties. In Gaza, hang on, in Gaza, the strategy's been completely different. It's been a strategy of sort of nihilism, where they just destroy everything in Gaza. Almost every hospital is either now, well, hang on, let me finish, is either destroyed or damaged in some way. We know this actually because we have to listen to British doctors who've come out and told everybody what is actually going on there, because of course international journalists are still banned.
Do you think they've been tricked by the Soviet Union?
By the IDF, even though they were allowed in previous conflicts in Gaza, and not allowed in to verify anything in this one, which I find very suspicious. But here's my point, Elica. I defended Israel's right to defend itself after October the 7th, not least because the Hamas spokesman went public almost immediately and said, we want to keep doing this. So I completely understand Israel's not just a need or a right, but a duty to
Ethan Klein holds the same kind of beliefs as Piers Morgan, like genuinely.
defend its people. However, what we've seen in the last few months was a 3-month blockade of starvation of already war-torn, impoverished people, and then this constant bombardment, including in the last 6 weeks, endless bombardments of people who are desperately.
But Piers, what you don't understand is I'm from Iran. Piers, I'm from Iran. I'm daughter of Iran. I lived under Islamic regime in Iran.
Lining up to get food. Now they are dying. It seems very mysteriously. The IDF says we shot in the air as warnings. Sometimes they use other language, which means they may have shot toward.
No, they're just mass killing civilians. I don't care what the IOF says.
People they saw as a threat, or they are now investigating what happened. I read out earlier in a previous debate about this, all the different times this has happened in the last 6 weeks. It's endless. And the idea that the IDF are not killing people in this way, when everybody else involved says they are, is ridiculous. So the point I think Dave is making, quite straightforwardly, is that what the IDF's been doing in the last 3 months, to me, crosses any line of self-defense and could absolutely...
You know, also, I will keep reiterating this. Piers Morgan, one of the things that Piers Morgan, like, sorry, I've completely forgotten what I was saying. Oh, sorry, Piers Morgan had Douglas Murray on his show.
Absolutely be categorized.
I got lip filler from Iran, Piers. I'm daughter of Iran.
As terrorizing the innocent people.
I'm Elica Le Bon from Britain. My dad is member of the Islamic regime.
Of Gaza. Now, it doesn't mean they're not in their heads.
Guys, like up the MF stream.
Going in their heads.
Yeah, it's also not 3 months. Yeah, that was also my key point.
Going after Hamas. Their motivation is we want to kill the bad guys, but they have lost all sense of proportion, and they are now behaving in a way that
now they were doing it straight after October the 7th.
Other people were doing it to them. They were categorized as terrorism.
Okay, so let me just answer you in 2 points. First of all, let me ask you this question. If Hamas was entirely separated from the civilian population, let's say it was totally down north and everyone else, up north and everyone else was down south, do you think that we'd see these civilian casualties?
But no enemy in modern warfare has ever been entirely separated from civilian populations. It's for the birds. It doesn't happen. My brother and my brother-in-law were both army colonels, right? It's for the birds.
Were they? I didn't know that.
This idea you get some clean war where civilians are nowhere near any of it, it doesn't really happen ever.
Yes, it does happen because you just used the example of Iran. You saw
give me an example where no civilians have been killed in modern warfare.
It's not no civilians, it's the amount of civilians. Right. And it is the fact that Hamas, it doesn't just embed itself, it embeds
but there are as many civilians in Lebanon. In fact, there are more civilians in Lebanon than there are in Gaza. How was it that Mossad was able to target 3,000 members of Hezbollah with a pager device that exploded? But in Gaza, the only way to deal with it, apparently, same situation, in Lebanon, Hezbollah live amongst civilians.
This is also just a really stupid argument for one exclusive reason. What, like, can you not work out that Israel just has better infiltration in Lebanon? Like, it's harder to infiltrate in Gaza.
The only way they can apparently do it.
She's fucking British. Her dad's Iranian, but she's never lived there.
Gaza is to obliterate Gaza and kill tens of thousands of civilians as they go after Hamas. I don't understand the difference.
Okay, let me answer the question and then you'll understand. What you're doing right now is you're not just legitimizing Hamas's strategy, you are encouraging it.
No,
because
not.
The whole.
When did I encourage it?
Okay, well, let me explain.
And you know people are listening to this, right? I mean, they know what I said.
If you let me finish my sentence, and then at the end of it, you can tell me if you agree. Should we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay. When Hamas intentionally embeds itself amongst civilian populations, the whole point of that strategy is that there'll be so much civilian casualties that the world will look at Israel and say, what an abhorrent pariah state that has...
This isn't actually the point of it, by the way. The actual point of this kind of guerrilla warfare is that it makes you incredibly hard to be caught. Like, it's literally what they've always spoken about. You can read the Mao Zedong thing of, like, you move through the civilians like a fish, isn't it? Or fish through water. That's where the strategy actually comes from. It's not about getting civilians killed.
Has lost all legitimacy. Okay, so let me finish. So every time the world does that, every time the world reacts in that way, it reinforces Hamas's behavior because it tells them this works. So in this moment that you're saying this...
And also, you're saying that... you said something about Hen Mazig saying that she was badly prepared. This woman wasn't badly prepared. It is that her arguments are, like, incredibly stupid. And when she can't sit there... Like, if you actually watch an Elica Le Bon video, it has, like, the most insane amount of cuts in it imaginable. Because she's not actually saying anything coherent. She's just sort of saying random words.
Trump announced his plan for Gaza.
Just watch.
I'm seeing a lot of conflicting narratives online and a lot of confusion about what we do going forward in this post-war era. And this is precisely this question that I want to answer for you in a very, very, very simple way. It is one it is one solution. Our problem is that we do not have a universal moral compass. Okay, one more time. We do not have a universal moral compass. And it is in this space of moral ambiguity, of moral confusion, that the worst of the worst has found a way to thrive. It is in our moral confusion. Let me explain to you what I mean. After Nazi Germany, the solution was... It was de-radicalization. And yes...
Basically, she just doesn't really know what she's talking about. It's just shit. I don't know who is feeding her this, because she comes off as terrible.
You are encouraging Hamas to
so we shouldn't talk about the 50, 60, 70,000 civilians or however many we don't actually know how many have been killed. We know we believe 70,000 have been killed, of which perhaps 25 to 30,000 are Hamas. We don't know because no one can ever give me actual figures.
You should talk about it, and you should frame it within the context of look how much destruction there is when terrorists embed themselves in civilian populations.
Right, Dave, let me get Dave to respond.
Also, by the way, that's not the reason for the destruction. This actually stands out as an example, even more than somewhere like fucking Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because Israel is sending in ideologically committed fanatics to go in and wipe out Palestinian communities and land. Like, that's actually what's going on. Like, that's what it is, you know? Like, these religious fanatics are wiping away Palestinian land, culture, and history because they believe that they have a religious right to go and settle the land.
Let me get Dave to respond.
Listen, this is just we should talk about it, but only in the framework that it's not the fault of the people who are dropping the bombs on the innocent people or shooting the people who are the ones. Hey, you know what? You just asked. You just had. Excuse me. You just had your whole thing about let you finish, and then you can respond to that. So why don't we do the same?
I know. And you stopped me when you were being strawmanned.
You opened by saying that Pierce. You got interrupted when you said Pierce was running cover for Hamas by pointing out that Israel's going too far. Quiet. Let me. No, you didn't. Your point stopped. Listen.
All right, don't talk over each other. Elica, let Dave respond, and then you respond to him.
I listened to the garbage you had to say.
Let him respond, then you reply.
Let me get in now.
Okay. All right, but stop talking.
Lady, let me just save you all the time in this debate. You wanted to debate me because I'm so wrong about everything and I'm so influential, and you wanted to smack it down. It ain't gonna be you, lady.
Piers Morgan is Hamas. Piers Morgan should be indicted by the ICC for his Hamas behavior.
You're not the one who's gonna stop me. This is just ridiculous.
It's lady.
Okay, I'll tell you whatever. Oh, okay, good one. Oh yeah, you really smacked down my bad ideas. Anyway, Pierce, again, all they have.
I think she's genuinely in another life. Elica Le Bon would be like running a yoga studio, telling people they've transcended or something like fascistic weird yoga. I'm too smart for you. She's like the Joker. She's like the Joker in real life.
Realize it. You're too stupid to realize how bad.
You're too stupid to understand. You can't even. Someone commented this on my tweet about her that she was quoting. She said she was quoting Ricky Gervais. She said she was quoting Ricky Gervais. But she was actually quoting Rick from Rick and Morty. She was. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
This is no doubt the best Rick and Morty scene in the history of the show.
Lab coat, rip off Dr. Strange. Rick Sanchez, everyone. Smartest man in the universe. And a savage critic of the heisting arts.
Your booze mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Elica quoted this. Look at her recent tweet. Ricky Gervais. She meant Rick Sanchez. Your boost mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer. She is galaxy brained. This is who Rick and Morty was made for. That's what you have to understand. You guys don't understand Rick and Morty. You're all so stupid. Dave Smith doesn't get it. None of you get it. She gets it.
That's what ideas are.
There you go. That's the argument you got. Anyway, can I talk now?
She is a lawyer. She's currently going to be sued by Rick and Morty for misquoting.
Sure.
Actually, it probably is. It probably is. Hold on. It probably is ChatGPT. Hold on. There's actually a way to work this out. Oh no, wait. Apparently Ricky Gervais maybe did say this. Hold on, maybe I owe a deep apology to Elica Le Bon. No, actually, no. It is. It's yeah. This is ChatGPT. It's ChatGPT. So ChatGPT. No. So ChatGPT struggles with authorship, and it probably will have scraped Reddit, and it will have found a meme which shows Ricky Gervais's face superimposed over Rick Sanchez's face, which is probably why it's got this, because it doesn't understand authorship. It wouldn't surprise me if she gets ChatGPT to help her write this crap, because it is crap.
Okay, so Pierce, as always, it's just the same thing on repeat here, right? So the defense is to go, but look, the motivation of Israel is pure. The motivation of everybody else is evil, even though obviously what Israel is doing...
I'm Iranian! Wubba-lub-dub-dub! I hate the Islamic regime!
...is objectively torturing women and children to death as they die with their bones crushed under rubble. But still, but also, Pierce, don't let it mess with you that at the highest levels of the Israeli government, they've kind of told you what their motivations are here. I mean, the South African case that they brought to the International Court of Justice was like 90% just direct quotes from...
I also saw Bad Empanada talking about this, but I will note I've been talking about it before as well. Like, it's pretty obvious. I think Israel will be found guilty of genocide, by the way. I don't think it's like that outrageous a statement to make, like, especially because of the provisional measures that they were told to do these things, and yet they didn't only ignore them, they accelerated every single one.
Israeli leaders, the prime minister himself referred to them as Amalek when talking to the military. You got the finance minister, the defense minister bragging about how nobody's getting any food for a 3-month period, bragging that not 1 ounce of grain will get into Gaza. I mean, I'm sorry, this is obviously terrorism. It borders on genocide. It's horrifically wrong. And for you to use your example of saying like, oh, this is what I'm saying is that a guy who robs a store and a cop who comes to stop them are committing the same act because they're pointing a gun at each other. Yeah, but of course in that example, they're right. But in that, no, that's
that's a pretty funny interaction between the two of them, where he just goes, "Yeah, that all right."
You said that's what you said about my point, and it was really dumb. Because in that example...
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I feel like this is a pity for a Saturday stream and a return stream. Because I think a lot of people have missed a real banger live stream.
There aren't innocent people being slaughtered. Yeah,
and if
kind of
there were,
is.
it would still be different. Okay, so
Elica, let me ask you a question, which is this.
Yeah, I know. I just ignored that borders on genocide thing. I don't need to explain why this idiot is wrong about that.
Are you comfortable with everything that Israel's done in the last 3 months?
No, I've always said that there should be dual criticism, and that's exactly what my problem has been this whole time. Everybody's criticizing Israel.
But surely in her analogy, then that would mean you criticized her. Because, like, look, I'm a big hater of cops, you know, but if a cop has someone with a gun pointed at them and they're pointing a gun back at them, and that person has, I don't know, robbed a house, as she was saying in her example. Like, maybe that is one of the examples where you're like, yeah, fair enough, maybe it makes sense that they're pointing a gun in that specific example, and there shouldn't really be dual criticism unless that person is, like, some random person. I have no idea what like, her argument is.
which is fair. But why isn't anybody criticizing the reason why Gaza looks like this? Because Hamas has decided to embed itself.
It's also like I really hate that no one talks about this. Like, the reason Gaza looks the way it does is because there are literally religious fanatics trying to wipe it out, and are allowed to do it by the Israeli government.
I mean, I couldn't have been more critical of Hamas going back 20 months. I mean, I still am now. I think they're a despicable terror group. Well, they're a despicable terror group who committed one of the worst terror attacks of modern times. I mean,
your earpiece maybe wasn't working for the whole first 5 minutes of this, where me and Pierce both agreed that the previous guest was ridiculous to downplay Hamas's crimes and that they had committed horrific acts of terrorism.
Elica.
What I was responding to, in terms of what Pierce said to me, he was talking about why.
Yeah, but the problem in the analogy, the problem is exactly. It's a dog shit analogy. But what I'm saying is, in hers, she's trying to imply that the robber, we must assume that the robber has done something awful because, because the robber is meant to be Hamas in her, like, weird, warped mind. But, this is a woman who quotes Rick and Morty. So I think you should probably shut up, Terror Trove Tales, because I don't think you can fathom what this woman is thinking about. She's the smartest woman in the galaxy.
Why is it that we can do targeted military strikes in Iran, but we've decided to entirely desecrate Gaza? And my response was that, not saying that it was right, but I'm saying that when Hamas embeds itself in all of Gaza, it is going to result in ruin. And it reinforces the point that I've been making this entire time, not just since October 7th, but for the past 3 years that I've been talking about terrorist regimes, which is that they bring mass death and destruction everywhere they go.
Israel.
That is true. I agree with that. But I also know that Israel, through Mossad, have supposedly the most sophisticated, experienced intelligence operation in the world.
Yeah, she does mean decimate, not desecrate.
And it was brilliantly seen with the Hezbollah pager attack. It's been brilliantly identified by the way they managed to identify where all the military leaders.
It's also, by the way, I don't know if any of you saw this. There was a really sadistic article in that I was looking at earlier that I mentioned in my video. Here you go. Sorry, 1 second. Which I'm not going to play all of here. But the Washington Post published audio of an Israeli intelligence operative calling a senior Iranian general before killing him, like saying, "We're going to kill your family. We're going to do these things." Like, I don't think it's so brilliant. It's still just nakedly killing tons of people.
And nuclear scientists and nuclear sites were going to.
I've not seen the bad Hasbara about her, but I'm sure it's hilarious. This woman is a comic figure of ridicule.
Be in Iran for Israel to attack. From a purely military perspective and intelligence perspective, Israel did an extraordinary job. Both.
To be fair, Piers loves the pager attack because this guy was involved allegedly in phone hacking.
With dealing with Hezbollah and the Iranian regime. However, it does just beg the obvious question. Why were they not able...
This motherfucker loves tampering with people's phones.
...to foresee in any way, apparently, that Hamas were going to spend 20 years spending the billions of dollars which Netanyahu had encouraged them to have, because he believed in divide and rule with the Palestinian Authority, that they had these billions of dollars and were spending it on creating one of the world's biggest underground tunnel systems to operate from. And then how did Mossad not know anything about 3,000 Hamas terrorists pouring over its border when they're literally on their border?
God.
And they're guarding it all day long. So I just cannot understand how this could have happened. And then I don't understand why Israel...
And that's probably why the guy before was saying that they were brave and it was ingenious, because, like, Israel spends all of this money on heinous and sadistic forms of oppression, and Palestinians found a way to break out.
Israel is responding in a way which it's never responded to anything like this in this way before. Why is Gaza... And then you had the Smodrich quotes, Elica, where he brazenly talks now last week on camera that the plan now is to cleanse Gaza of Palestinians. That is ethnic cleansing. That is a war crime.
What do you think they've been doing? Trump said this. Why are you only caring about Smotrich? Trump said this.
That's obviously wrong. That's obviously wrong.
So we need to agree. We need to agree certain things like that, because honestly, it's important to me. It's like when people don't condemn Hamas, I sort of tune out, because it's like,
Oh, there's 100% an elaborate tunnel. There's still no proof of the biggest interconnected tunnel. It's just maintenance tunnels for any city. No, there are tunnels in Gaza, 100%. Like, the tunnels do exist. There are videos of the tunnels. Like, the tunnels are built underground. Like, they're built as a military installation. They're like the ones that were in Vietnam, but far more complex.
The last guy, the moment he just said he was proud of what Hamas did, I tune out of him as a credible guest. But if you're prepared to admit what very, very few pro-Israelis right now will admit, which is that some of this strategy is completely wrong, I think we may get somewhere.
It's so foundational to acknowledge that fact. It is so foundational to say that just because you have the right to defend yourself, it doesn't mean that you have carte blanche. It is so foundational to acknowledge all of these things, to acknowledge the death, the destruction, all of it. This is not what my conversation is about.
Okay.
This is not about has there been damage or destruction or whatever. The whole point of this conversation is that you're making moral equivalencies, and these moral equivalencies blur.
You are right. It is like a first year's philosophy. I don't even know if I'd actually give them the credit of this being seen as the level of a first year philosophy seminar. These people are stupider than any kind of first year philosophy seminar.
The distinction between right and wrong, good and evil. Now, you can say that, but some of these actions look like they are evil in themselves, but the entire conversation always goes down to intent. That is what our entire criminal justice system is.
But I don't agree with that. I actually don't agree. You've just said that unless I'm wrong, you've just said that some of the things Israel's been doing are evil. Right, you've drawn your own moral equivalency. You said both sides are doing. Well, hang on. Both sides are doing evil things. That's surely the point Dave Smith was making.
No, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it's different. Because there is one side that kills ideology to protect its people, and there is one side that kills people to protect its ideology. That
kills ideology to protect its people. What? Oh my God.
No, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it's different. Because there is one side that kills ideology to protect its people, and there is one side that kills people to protect its ideology.
This would actually be this would be a much better description of Israel, that it kills people to protect its ideology. It kills people to protect its settler colonial project. Like, that's why it's killing people. It's not killing people. It's not killing people for no random reason. You know. It's not like killing people just because it can. It's killing people so it can continue settling and taking people's land, you know? Simple as that.
That is the difference. I'm going to give you an example so you understand the nuance of what I'm trying to say. Let's say that there's a room of 100 people, okay? And in that 100 people, you're told that 10 of these people want to kill your people. Now, if you were to shoot and kill everyone in that room, that is objectively immoral and wrong. Objectively, right? But you are doing it out of protection. It's still disgusting and abhorrent and wrong. Now, let's say at the same time, you know that 10 people in that room of innocent civilians are against your ideology, and you murder the entire room to protect your ideology. Both actions are equally immoral and evil as each other, but the motivation is completely different, and you cannot...
What? Like, what even is this argument? So this is just an argument that Israel should kill everyone. This is really hard to understand. This is, like, really hard to understand, like, genuinely. This is, like, galaxy-brained, but not because it's, like, clever, but because it's, like, really, really incoherent.
Entire room to protect your ideology. Both actions are equally immoral and evil as each other, but the motivation is completely different, and you cannot make equivalencies moral and wrong, objectively, right? But you are doing it out of protection. It's still disgusting and abhorrent and wrong. Now, let's say at the same time, you know that 10 people in that room of innocent civilians are against your ideology, and you murder the entire room to protect...
But what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? So your what ideology are you talking about? Like, the ideology, frankly, that Israel is against are... the ideology is Israel... What even is this? Like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk about this, but this is just... This might be beyond me to try and understand or, like, go anywhere near. It is beyond insane. It is beyond insane.
Protect your ideology. Both actions are equally immoral and evil as each other, but the motivation is completely different, and you cannot make equivalencies of those motivations.
All right, Dave.
But you, in your own words, you just said that both actions are equally immoral. I mean, it sounds right. Okay, it sounds a lot like kind of the rationalization that your first guest was saying there, Pierce. That like, well, you know, everybody serves in the IDF in Israel, and therefore we really just got to go after everybody because you never know who here might be one of our oppressors or something like that. It's all just ridiculous logic. And look, there's what is the intention of an ethnic cleansing campaign? Is that an unintended consequence as Israel is floating this out? Huh?
It's not an ethnic cleansing campaign. This is just regurgitating buzzwords. But I clearly said that
hold on.
Regurgitating buzzwords. That is all you're capable. In fact, you're not even capable of doing that. You try and be cleverer, but it is really, really stupid.
This is what just so wait. No, I'm not regurgitating buzzwords. I'm talking about what one of the most powerful people at the absolute top of the Israeli government, their finance minister, said. Look, the Palestinians in Gaza in the West Bank are there largely because they were ethnically cleansed out of where they were living for generations before that. So no, I'm sorry. It's just what's ridiculous.
What are you talking about ethnic cleanse? You're talking about the Nakba?
Yes.
Yeah, you're talking about the fact that when the war broke out against Israel, that some of the camps were exiled because some of them were collaborating with the Arabs that were engaging in the war with Israel, and others of them were not. Which
What?
is why they were grandfathered.
Right.
What is she? She doesn't even know what the Nakba is. Kind of amazing. This woman has a book deal. This woman has a book deal. I am obsessed with Elica Le Bon. She is the people's princess. But Elica, you are not giving a good. You're not giving a good example of yourself, Elica.
Yeah. 750,000 people were forced out of their house. Oh, no, actually, we are. And you don't get to just say we're not going to get into this conversation.
And also, it wasn't because they were collaborating with the Arabs. It was because Israel wanted to expel them so it could establish a state with purely Jewish people in. Like, some stayed, yes. Some stayed, but a very small amount. It was about re-engineering demographics for a partition.
You're not answering the point. You're not answering the
And also camps. People didn't live in camps then.
point that I've made.
They live in camps because of the Nakba, you idiot.
Clearly said in that example that I gave you that both of those situations were completely wrong.
Hello, everyone in chat.
But the motivation was different, and that is how you know. And you haven't addressed that.
No, sorry. Maybe you're not getting me. Yes, I think it's completely ridiculous for you to just get to claim that the Israeli motivations are pure. I'm sorry, especially when... Listen, Benjamin...
Who said pure?
Okay,
Who said
whatever.
pure?
Okay, you're just breaking up. You don't get to just claim... This is nonsense. You don't get to... Oh my God, you just have nothing except nonsense and interrupting me. Okay, so when Benjamin Netanyahu goes to the United Nations a couple of weeks before October 7th and has Greater Israel on a map where all of Gaza and all of the West Bank are Israel, I'm sorry, why is it that you just get to give him the assumption that the motivation here wasn't to destroy Gaza, ethnically cleanse it, and annex it, as they're openly talking about doing right now? Now, I'm sure there's some people in Israel who don't have those motivations. I'm sure there are some people in Hamas who maybe just wanted to have a two-state solution. But still, when the overwhelming motivations of the leadership are this impure, I don't think you get to say, oh, there's a major difference between, because one side's motivation is purely just to get the bad guys.
Okay, let's just pivot. Hang on a second. I want to pivot to Iran because, Dave, you on 22nd of June, and I've obviously talked to you on the show as well around this period, you posted on X, Donald Trump's now launched an illegal war of aggression against Iran. The risk of an absolute catastrophe is very high and the benefits are non-existent. Worst of all, he did it on behalf of a foreign government against a country who posed no threat to us. Now, as things stand, it looks increasingly like Trump brought all this to an end with targeting 3 nuclear strikes.
By the way, this just also is not coherent with, like, the US government's own assessment. They don't know where the 400 kilograms of enriched uranium is. Like, they don't know where it is at all.
The B-2 bunker buster bombs.
They also don't know if these bunker busters were effective. It just doesn't look like this is the case. Like, if you want to read someone, this is Jeffrey Lewis, who's the director of the East Asia Non-Proliferation Agreement for Foreign Policy. It's not exactly like some fucking pro-Iran outlet.
We don't know the scale of the damage, but even the Iranians are saying significant. And
unfortunately, we missed the super chat goal. I'm very sad. Oh, 9 out of 10. Thank God you're back from vacation. Thank you, Katha Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for that incredibly kind donation. I am enjoying being back, and I won't be on vacation for a while now.
The war appears to be now at a ceasefire stage after 12 days, which is being kept in hell, which I'm astonished by. Trump has no desire, he's made it clear, to put any boots on the ground or to affect any America-driven regime change. I think he was misinterpreted when he first talked about that. I think he meant an organic regime change possibly happening a la Syria in December, but we don't know.
I also am an increasing... I don't think Syria was organic at all. I think Syria was backed by Israel and the UAE, I think, and Saudi. Maybe Saudi, but I think more the UAE, to install him and get more people to donate to the... to sign up to the Abraham Accords.
No, but that was my take on what he said. But he certainly clarified that now as he doesn't want Americans to force it. What is actually wrong with what has happened and unfurled here? I mean, given what the Atomic Agency report made clear, that the Iranians have been enriching uranium from a safe civilian usage of 3.5-4% to 60% in rapid time, and they were hiding.
Thank you, Coffee Lover. Thank you, everyone who supported.
Any information, they were obfuscating, they weren't allowing proper, full, transparent inspections and so on. You know, is there really...
Well, this is the interesting thing as well. Iran has a secret nuclear site that they said that they would allow to be inspected. In the case, like, they said it would be allowed to. Now it's not getting fucking inspected at all. Not a chance it'll be inspected. Like, not a chance that is going to be inspected now. You know? It's ridiculous.
Anything ideological, on putting aside Gaza, putting aside everything else, purely on the apparently imminent threat. By imminent, I mean in the next few months, that the Iranians would have had an ability to weaponize their uranium quite quickly to 90% and potentially create up to 10 nuclear bombs, having assured the world they wouldn't do that. They are supporting and promoting every terror group going from Hezbollah to the Houthis to Hamas to destroy Israel.
But also, by the way, this is just a very facile argument because it completely ignores one of the other important examples of, you know, how one of our closest allies, a country which Piers probably fucking goes to, the UAE, sponsors terrorism all across the Middle East, and then you just blame Palestine. The Bonbon only has Israeli audience, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, it's like Loner Box. Like, Loner Box's audience is increasingly just Israelis who watch him. Like, these people have channels for Israelis. Like, it's what it is. You're like a white Westerner who appeals to Israelis. Simple as.
If you're Israel, why would you not preemptively strike?
Well, he's even a fucking an Arab actually himself.
And if you're the United States and you've got the leaders of the Iranian regime saying death to America and encouraging that chant, why would you also not want to neutralize the nuclear sites?
Well, let me start by saying that I really am just absolutely thrilled that, number one, that the Iranians gave that warning and that their response was kind of like one of those Iranian responses where we want to seem tough, but we sure do want to make sure we don't kill.
I also have had a bit of a thought about this, and this article kind of goes into it. Remember how during True Promise 1, when Iran first attacked Israel, they fired loads of drones and old military equipment? And actually, interestingly, there are a lot of people who said throughout the Iran war, look how ineffective, Iran is launching way less missiles. Well, what Iran started doing is launching more powerful and more effective missiles and preventing and like stopping using a lot of them. And they burned through early on, like, stuff that would get them to use a lot of defense equipment, but not do much really. And then increasingly they used more sophisticated weaponry. In the case of attacking that military base, they didn't do much, but they could do something much bigger if they wanted to.
Kill any Americans that could get us destroyed. And I'm thrilled that Donald Trump took that off-ramp and immediately started pushing a ceasefire. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But thank God that he did that, because and I think all sane people around the world should be thankful that he took that off-ramp and this didn't lead to a catastrophe. But no, I mean, I think that I think essentially your question is all flawed. I mean, even in the IAEA report that you're referring to, they also reiterated that Iran.
You need to either turn up the vid or turn your voice down a bit. I've turned my voice down a bit, but I think it's just a problem. I need to get a new mic.
Doesn't have a nuclear bomb, and that they have not made the decision to start pursuing one. And so there was no imminent threat. Listen, even Benjamin Netanyahu, in his interview with Brett Baer, who always, Piers, as you know, has a long history of just making up how long the Iranians are to developing a nuke, even he said maybe a year, 13 months. But the point is that in order for them to do that, they would have had to kick the inspectors out. And then it would have taken them at least a matter of years to develop a nuclear bomb if they had made the political decision to start seeking one. And then it would have taken them a while. Do you think they should have one? My point.
Do you think Iran should have it?
You should play most moral nuclear army next. What on earth is that, Ninhotep?
Nuclear bomb.
No, I don't think anybody should have.
No, I won't. Why can't I moderate my chat? What is going on? I can't moderate my chat. Can someone say stop talking about? Oh no, I can. I'll put you in a timeout.
Have nuclear weapons.
Right, but do you think in particular Iran should have one, given how much it supports terrorist groups?
Well, I will answer that question. Let me just say the point I was making there is just that there was no imminent threat. We had more than enough time to do what the American legal system requires in this situation, which is that you bring it to Congress so that the people theoretically can have a debate through their representatives.
But actually, as you know, Dave, I saw AOC making that argument, and I replied to her, almost every military strike ordered by an American president this century has been done without prior congressional approval.
Yeah, but what type of argument is that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally, why should... Like, we live in these countries. Democracies are meant to be accountable. It's meant to, what some, idiot like this would say is what separates us from a country like, Iran or something. Why the hell can't we just have this... why the hell can't we just have our governments be accountable to us and stop just bombing people without our approval?
Pierce, every war since World War II has been fought undeclared. That doesn't mean it's the proper.
But the
legal,
argument is that if you go for congressional approval, inevitably it will leak out, and you lose the element of surprise.
But what's the point in the surprise? You're just using it to bomb people and push us close to terror. I agree with Elica. I agree that she is our beautiful Iranian queen.
Yeah, okay, but then the argument also is that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and the founders very intentionally placed war-making power in the Congress because they didn't want it to be, they didn't want the president to have the war-making powers of a king. Now,
but
listen,
it does commander-in-chief. It can make military strikes as well. It just can't declare war.
Yeah, well, there's some debate about that amongst constitutional scholars, but yes, but that refers to like an imminent threat, which by all accounts this wasn't. Now, listen, I don't want.
Yeah, there's literally no way to frame what Iran was doing as an imminent threat, like at all. There is no way to make that argument that it was an imminent threat to American life in America.
Iran to get a nuclear weapon. I think that everything that U.S. but basically all of U.S. and Israeli foreign policy seems to have been geared around incentivizing them to make one for about as long as I've been alive, which I think is very counterproductive. But I will say that I think there is a couple thoughts here that I think people should really consider. And number one, that I don't, I still think that Donald Trump, as great as it is that he walked us back from this, I think it was totally reckless and wrong for him to launch it to begin with. But think about this. The whole foundation.
I mean, it is pretty questionable. Like, you could have got a deal with Iran. Like, she's just an Iran hawk because it's what her Israeli audience wants to hear. Because her views are boring and uninteresting and no one gives a fuck about them. And so she's, if she doesn't, like, say outrageous shit like this.
Claim for the hawk's justification about Iran getting a nuke here. Because obviously, lots of really, really bad people have had nuclear weapons in the history of the world. And that's not a good thing. But like Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong and like, today, current Vladimir Putin, China. I mean, there's lots of really bad regimes that have nuclear weapons. It's almost never been on the table among serious people that we ought to launch a war of aggression and choice because of regime. But the claim here is that Iran is so crazy. There are these religious fundamentalists and self-preservation simply isn't a motivating factor for them. And therefore they can't be allowed to get it.
But you wouldn't dispute that it, but you wouldn't, hang on. You wouldn't dispute though the central argument that Israel has about it, which is that Iran has been the main sponsor for Hamas, the Houthis and Hezbollah for a number of years.
So, America has sponsored Israel with fucking nuclear weapons. Like, what is this shitty argument? Like, oh, these groups are so evil. What do you think Israel was doing before October the 7th? It was being sponsored to take land off indigenous people to violate international law. There is no good argument to make about this.
Years, all of whom are terror groups wedded to eliminating Israel. You wouldn't dispute that.
I don't dispute that they have supported those groups, and I don't dispute that that's the Israeli
isn't that
claim.
right there the existential threat to Israel?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but Israel, no, listen, if Israel is the only country in the Middle East who secretly has nuclear weapons and is not a member of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and they also funded Hamas. So I'm sorry, I do not think it's a legitimate justification for them to launch a war because they claim someone else is making nukes when they're not, and also they also funded Hamas or something like that. So no.
Can I respond to this now? Can I respond to this now? First of all, this claim that there's no evidence that the regime is making nukes is totally false. It's totally false. We know that they've enriched to 60%.
There isn't evidence that they're making nuclear weapons. Like, this argument about 60%. Yeah, but they didn't have 90%, did they? Hold on. I just want to see if there's... They have the capacity to do this, but, like, the thing is that there's Ayatollah Khamenei was not doing it. Like, they weren't doing it. They could have done it. They could have done it for years. They had the capacity to, and they didn't do it because of negotiations.
Which means they're 90% of the way there. There's no reason to have anything above 3 to 5% for civilian use. Everybody understands that 60%, the only purpose of it is for nuclear weapons. Now, for a long time, the US and the Western world have been trying to delay the breakout time. That was the whole point of the JCPOA and all of these other deals, was that we know that they're months away, right? That's why you keep saying, oh, they've been months away for years, right? But they've been trying to extend the breakout time from months away to at least a year away for the past 10 to 15 years. So actually, everybody is fully aware that the regime has always been months away from developing nuclear weapons. Now, second...
So, here's fucking Reddit, someone talking about this. So, medical isotope used for imaging, this was Iran's claim, a stepping stone towards higher. You could conceivably build a weapon with 60%, you would need a lot of it. You can make a TC-99 with lower enrichment levels of uranium. So that's someone saying it on Reddit, so who knows how fucking true it is. It is Reddit.
Of all, again, it's making these moral equivalencies between the United States or different countries or Israel or whoever having nuclear capabilities. What you're talking about here is a regime whose fundamental motto, its entire basis of existence, is death to Israel and death to the United States.
Israel's fundamental existence is wiping away the Palestinians. Its fundamental motto is it's a Jewish state for Jewish people and the indigenous people have no space.
States. That is what it stands for. That is
Elica is the queen of Botox, the people's Botox queen.
What its leaders chant on a daily basis. That is what school children have to chant in the playground before they start school every day. Death to America, death to Israel. Every day their strategy is how do we destroy the United States and how do we destroy Israel?
I'd actually argue that increasingly Iran has shown a willingness to, like, not do these things. And even this time, like, they didn't just go full-on destruction of, you know, they didn't just go full-on destruction of, yeah, you know, Israel, America. They could have done things like this that created way worse things in the Middle East, but, you know, they didn't do them.
Now, when you,
like, there's clearly an element of regime self-preservation, you know?
You have an expansionist ideology that has eschatological beliefs about the end of the world.
Eschatological? Is that how you say it? Eschatological. Relating to death judgment and the final destiny of the soul. Is it eschatological? I don't know.
World and the end of Israel, and the desire is to proliferate and export its ideology of velayat faqih not just to the Middle East but to the entire world. And you say, I don't understand what's the difference between them having nukes and others having nukes. That is just,
well, I mean, countries doing genocide shouldn't have nukes.
Profoundly misguided. Second of all, I
didn't say that.
Second of all, this isn't just about the threat of the nukes themselves. I don't think anyone's thinking to themselves that that the Islamic Republic's just going to drop a nuke as soon as it has one. The whole point of it reaching nuclear capabilities is that it becomes a deterrent state.
Yes! Yes! This is a good thing! They should be able to deter being bombed by Israel and America. They should be able to deter genocidal states who have done nothing good for the people of the Middle East anywhere.
Once it becomes a deterrent state, how are you going to deter its bad behaviors? How are you going to prevent its alliances with its regional proxies? How are you going to...
Well, America should be deterred from its alliances with regional proxies. We shouldn't use the term proxy, but it's regional auxiliaries. Like Al-Qaeda, you know? They had a literal alliance with Al-Qaeda.
Prevent more October 7th when everything you try to do to sanction them and contain them is met with, what are you going to do? We've got nukes. And it also prevents the containment of the region, because now UAE, Egypt, all of these other countries are so under threat that they also have to develop...
UAE, Egypt, dog shit dictatorships. Dog shit dictatorships. You go on and on about fucking how much you love liberal democracies, and yet you reference UAE and Egypt. Reference UAE one more time.
Nuclear capability, so it is actually allowing them to get that far. That would be the cause of regional and global instability. So it's just...
What stability is there for people in Egypt having to live under a dictatorship where they're struggling to live their lives, where they don't have their money, where they're consistently under threat from, you know, a dictatorial regime that doesn't let them speak freely?
Preposterous to say that we should have just done nothing about that or got into another deal that just kicked the can down the road again. We are in the position that we are in because nobody contained this for as many decades as it's been a growing threat. We've passed the Neville Chamberlain moment.
Okay,
totally, it's just total bullshit. I mean, just listen, the reason why now this 60% enrichment, which obviously for anyone paying attention was there is another reason besides they were developing a nuclear weapon, which again, all of the intelligence says they had not even made the political decision that...
Yeah, this is the kind of maddest thing. The US's own intelligence. They didn't get it wrong, by the way. They just changed it when it was politically expedient to do so. Like, that's the truth. Tulsi Gabbard, all of them knew that there was no reason to do this. But yeah, Sisi is a dictator. Yes, he's a dictator who was put into power by the UAE, basically. With the support of the UAE. They sponsored an organization called Tamarod to foment protest.
They wanted to develop a nuclear weapon yet, let alone weren't doing it. It was a chip to bargain away, which is actually what they were trying to do. They were in the middle of negotiations when Israel snuck attacked them and launched this war of aggression.
That means you concede. Yeah, hang on. That means you concede that what they were doing was creating the impression that they were going to build a nuclear bomb.
Oh, listen, there's no question that they upped the enrichment. But listen, here's the point. They weren't allowed to, under the JCPOA. Okay.
Also... This is really interesting. How many centrifuges... This is... While a lot of experts focused on the limits of JPCOA, look at this and then look at what America has done. How many centrifuges, what type and how much enriched uranium Iran could have. I consistently argued that its real value was how much it enhanced our ability to detect covert facilities, covert. This included cradle-to-grave safeguards, starting from the moment that uranium was mined, monitoring of the machines used to make centrifuges, measures that limited where Iran could enrich uranium, and extraordinary rights for the IAEA to look around. No CC... What did you say? No CC of Egypt was placed by American-backed military, not the UAE. No, the UAE was... the UAE played an integral role in it. You can genuinely just look this up. literally on fucking Wikipedia. Tamarod was an Egyptian movement funded by the General Intelligence Service, so the Mukhabarat, Egypt's internal security service, and the UAE. Like, it's no secret. Like, this is something the UAE did.
Under the JCPOA, when America was involved, they weren't allowed to
IEUAE
enrich to this level, but they were allowed to do it if America pulled out. That's in the JCPOA agreement. And so when Donald Trump tore that up, and walked away, they brought their enrichment up. What were the negotiations, Pierce, that were happening right before Israel launched their surprise attack? It was for Iran to bring the enrichment back down and America to get back in some type of agreement. They weren't going to call it the JCPOA because Donald Trump would have had to...
Yeah, Dave is an idiot generally on Palestine, but these are pretty logical points. I mean, his support of Trump is also idiotic, but...
Make it his own thing and
Trump
not getting
gave them
back into
60
Obama's.
days to negotiate. Trump said he got 60 days, and day 61, Israel attacked.
Right. Okay. Now, but what happened, and this was widely reported, and Donald Trump himself acknowledged this, is that the Hawks insisted that you put a poison pill in the negotiations. This is what Mark Levin was freaking out about, and that the standard has to be that Iran must give up all nuclear enrichment altogether. This was always a poison pill, so that the point is that Iran was willing to negotiate, and so if you really wanted to get back into that deal, Donald Trump honestly just never should have torn up the JCPOA, and we'd all be in a much better situation. It ushered in a new inspection regime, and so we know this is why we know that they're enriching up to 60%, because they're still in the agreement and they still have the inspections, unlike Israel.
Let me ask you this. I'm sure since you know about the JCPOA, I'm sure you know that it was replete with sunset provisions for up to 10 to 15 years, where all of those containment would be expired, and they would have more than $150 billion to continue developing their missiles and nuclear programs. The JCPOA was never a solution. Not only that, but not only did they inherit more than $100 billion, they were also able to expand their regional terror. And Khamenei repeatedly came on television and said, we are going to use that money to fund our allies. So there was actually a backdoor to the JCPOA where the regime, the Islamic Republic, was able to expand its regional influence and...
Okay, what does America do with money in the Middle East? Expands regional influence by giving money to dictators who dance its tune.
Fund its allies, which eventually led to October 7th, which eventually brought us to where we are now. So yes, the JCPOA did intend to temporarily constrain their nuclear abilities, but it was always understood that by the time it expired, they would be $150 billion richer, their proxies would be fortified, they would have been responsible for significant regional destabilization, and then they would be able to enrich if they wanted to. And the only way to prevent that was to get into another nuclear deal, which would require unfreezing hundreds and billions of more. So they would just keep getting enriched, rich and empowered. So the question is, how does this end? Just a lifetime of JCPOAs?
Well, let me ask you a question just to end this, because we've run out of time. Dave, let me put a question to Dave, which is that if it turns out that all this activity in the last 2 weeks drives Iran to the negotiating table, they do agree to give up a lot of their enriched uranium and so on, reduce it back to civilian levels and so on, and there is a period of sustained peace in the region, and the Gaza hell is brought to an end as well, and in 6 months' time, all this is over. Should Donald Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize? Because Barack Obama got one 8 months into his tenure for basically just doing a bit of chat.
I mean, Barack Obama never should have got a Peace Prize, but the Nobel Peace Prize isn't exactly this prestigious thing when fucking what's-his-name has won one. Menachem Begin.
Fancy chat about world peace.
Well, I guess grading on the Obama curve, everybody deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, literally, the three of us are much better candidates than Barack Obama was. So judging on that.
Alika's so down, she can't even smile about that. Her Botox will not allow her to smile.
No, look, I mean, I think that would be great if that's the result of all of this. I think that what Donald Trump's policy was so reckless, and it had such a risk, and this is what I was trying to get at before that I hope people appreciate. Look, if Iran had not made the calculation to give advanced warning and had just fired off missiles the way they did into Israel,
because it's part of a de-escalation ramp.
But this is the whole point, Piers.
I think Trump called their bluff. I think Trump called their bluff because he realized that what Israel had done over a period of days is expose the Iranian regime as having a military that was a dud.
Well, I mean, did Israel do that? They required America to come in. Like, I love how there's all this triumphalist bullshit about all of this. But, like, you know, did Israel do any of this when they had to go and look to America to do this for them?
They don't want it. They don't want to be destroyed. They would rather rule than be destroyed.
Exactly.
But But the point is that we put this in the hands of the Iranian government. If they hadn't done that, we may have had to launch a full regime. What would Donald Trump have done if 50 or 100 Americans had been killed in an Iranian attack?
Well, thankfully, we
risked a catastrophe.
Thankfully, that hasn't happened because Iran was so panicky, they actually gave prior warnings to everybody to make sure it didn't happen.
So maybe they're not such a scary threat after all.
Well, that's an interesting point if you take away their nuclear weapons. Elica, final word.
I would give anything to have a debate with Elica Le Bon. I would give anything just to talk to her in real life. My Iranian queen, the people's queen of Iran. She will soon be the queen of Iran. Soon, I think. I think she could well soon be the queen of Iran.
To you very quickly.
Yes. Okay. Your whole point, this whole conversation, and everything that you've been saying online is that Israel is engaging in terrorism, ethnic cleansing, all of these things that you claim to be against, and yet you are so happy to engage in these deals that enrich the Islamic Republic and its machinery of oppression to hang and lynch and torture women. So if you're so against what Israel is doing, if you're so against funding what Israel is doing, why are you so happy to fund this regime in its domestic and regional terror?
More money to Iran. More money. Right. That's enough, Elica Le Bon. We're going to close with a little bit on... I won't be doing too much longer because I've been ill, as you all know. I'm very ill. I'm near death. I'm near death's door. And you all missed the donation for me to get a cybernetic arm, so you're not having anything. I won't be able to do... I won't be able to stream again, but I would give anything to debate Elica Le Bon. That's true. Right, so this is, as I said, this is, what's his name? Jeffrey Lewis talking about Iran. So he's talking about the DIA assessment, which is the Defense Intelligence Agency assessment. So they rely on both satellite imagery and signals intelligence. People such as myself working with open source information can't eavesdrop on Iranian phone calls, but I can look at satellite imagery and I see the same thing. When Israel started its bombing campaign against Iran, Netanyahu went out of his way to highlight materials saying that Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. This material is the MacGuffin in our tale of woe. Iran would have to further enrich this material to weapons grade, but it could have done so quickly in a matter of about 3 weeks at the Fordo fuel enrichment plant. Where is the material now? According to the US intelligence assessment, Iran moved it early on in the conflict, likely to a secret location that, by the way, is precisely what the Iranians told Rafael Grossi, the director of the IAEA. US officials, no doubt embarrassed by the fact, had no idea where the material went, tried a ridiculous number of explanations. Vance claimed that it was buried. Marco Rubio claimed that trucks couldn't move in Iran. That just wasn't true. Without being almost immediately targeted by Israel, even though there are numerous satellite images showing trucks arriving at the facility, followed by images. We now know that the DIA thinks the material is on the lam. If Iran dashes to a bomb, it will have to further enrich this material and eventually convert it from its current form, gas, into metal hemispheres that can be assembled in a bomb. These steps are called conversion and casting. Vance and others have sought to downplay the dangers of missing material by claiming that Israel and the US has completely eliminated Iran's ability to enrich uranium and fabricate uranium metal. Even before the latest DIA assessment, it was clear that this was false and that Iran retained a significant ability to reconstitute its uranium enrichment program. Shortly before the bombing campaign began, there was a contentious meeting. Don't spend this on a new moustache. Thank you, Toadburger. I'm going to grow a new moustache. It's going to go into products to grow the greatest moustache of all time. Shortly before from which several important items of information emerged. This meeting has largely been forgotten in a rush of events that followed the bombing campaign, which we now know had been long planned and was on hold until the expiration of the 60-day window that President Trump claimed he gave Iran. During that meeting, Grossi indicated the IAEA had lost continuity of knowledge in relation to the production and current inventory of centrifuges, rotors and bellows, which it will not be possible to restore. What that means practically is that the IAEA no longer knows how many centrifuges Iran has stockpiled, where they are all stored. Iran could use any centrifuges in storage to replace centrifuges that have been destroyed or to set up new centrifuge facilities. I would highly recommend that you read this, but what they basically say is that they don't know what's going on really, and you would have heard all this stuff, but it's just not quite congruent with reality. Alright guys, I'm going to end the stream there because I've been streaming for about 2 hours. Thank you all for coming. I hope you have a lovely rest of the weekend. I will be live tomorrow, much closer to 5 PM tomorrow rather than late like today. So I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Thank you for coming back, and I'm back now, and I'm feeling better, at least. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm waiting so it doesn't end abruptly.